All right. All right. There we go. What's going on, party people? This your man Griff. All right. I know people gotta get the notification. Give y'all a few moments for that. And while that's popping, let me hit y'all with a little bit of music. Now, here we go. Notifications going out. Oh man. So yeah, we got a special deal tonight. I know it's last minute, but I have to give credit to Christina, Constance, and Jeff. Christina just popped off, was it? She probably hopped back on. But I got three amazing people that's gonna come on here and they're gonna chop it up and just share with you from the perspective of why notaries are missing out on orders. Okay, so we have a non-signing company owner in Jeff, but yet Jeff goes out and uses notaries all the time. He's calling them to go out and do a lot of times apostille. Christina is a signing company owner, trainer, mentor. She's trying to get notaries squared away and doing right. And then you have Christina, who is a loan officer, and all three of them do loan closings, okay? Or they can. I don't know. Jeff might be retired now, but they all do loan closings, and all of them have been in the business for a while. So we're going to have ourselves some fun. So those of you who coming in, just hit the like button. And for y'all three, there's a private chat. You'll see it there. If you need to send me a message, you can hit that private chat and throw something to me. If you need me to be aware of something or mention something or what have you. And good to see you, Michelle. And there might be a person or two that might hop on. That's some channel members that I have. They might want to ask some basic questions, but anybody can ask questions in the chat. So and all of that. So just to give y'all a quick update, like I always do, things have been popping for me. From what I calculated, and I didn't have a chance to double check it, well, quadruple check it. But it looks like where I'm at right now for the first 15 days of the month is 50 signings this month. For the first through the 15th, I did 50 of them. It felt like it, but it didn't almost seem like it because last month was a little slow. And I'm like, man, this is rolling. So now I'm hyped up and I'm trying to get 100 for the month. Now I'm really pumped. So I missed a lot today because I was sort of booked and the times wasn't jiving. And then I wanted to come here and do this. And then all of a sudden I started getting some other orders for tomorrow. So I picked up 2 for tomorrow. So I'm trying to hit another 50 from the 16th through the 30th or the 31st end of the month. And that's one of the ways I measure how I go about doing stuff and everything. And make sure y'all share this on your social media. Those of you down in the green room, as well as the people who viewing, throw it on your social media. Just let folks know that we out here so they can come and ask questions. But the main thing that I try to do is have a goal to keep me motivated. So my main goal is 15. Oh, there's an order coming in right now. My main goal is to do 18 to 23 a week. And if I can get that done, I am truly, truly happy. All right. I'm saying yes to this order. See, orders be coming in all the time. So hopefully I'll get it. That's for 7 o'clock on Monday. I told you I'm going for 100 this month. Hopefully y'all too. But my goal is to do 18 to 23 a week and to try to do, maybe if I got assigned it, universal notary. So I have to find a way to keep myself motivated. And that's what y'all have to also. But I do recognize that many of you aren't getting the opportunities. So we got to figure out what's the deal. Maybe you're not putting yourself out there the right way. Maybe you're not communicating the right way. You might be asking for too much money when you can't actually get that money out of the signing company because they're hard capped at $75 or $85. But they got a lot of them and you're like, well, I want $15 more. And they're like, I can't give you $15 more, but I can give you $15.85 rather than, or you can just take the zero and don't get nothing. So you got to make up your mind. So for those of you in the chat, I mean, yeah, here, just hit the like button, share, and all that good stuff. And I am going to turn my music off, and we're gonna bring the party people on up here, and we're gonna bring all three onto the stage, and we're gonna make this thing pop a locking, and we just gonna do what we do. So welcome to each one of you. I greatly appreciate. So we got my man Jeff. So we're gonna start with Jeff, and we have somebody that's gonna be sitting in the green room. They're gonna be asking some questions a little bit later. So hold on there, Jasmine. So we're gonna start with Jeff. And Jeff, I want you to share with the people some of the difficulties you're having with getting notaries, as well as some of the items that make you say, I don't want to mess with you no more.
Yeah. So before I get into that, I just want to say one thing. I do do loan closings. I have one right now at 5:30. So, so anyway, just to be clear, I'm not a signing service, but I'm the co-founder of the Notary family. We have our own database where you can add your information there for free, and I look up notaries for both. I do a lot of apostille work and mobile notary around the country. So, I just got a call today from some lady in Spain that needs a notary to go to prison in Louisiana. So, trying to locate notaries is a challenge, because one of the reasons that I have the biggest thing that everybody hears is notaries don't answer their phone. And it's so true. If you want business, you need to answer your phone. Okay. I know we're with technology, and a lot of signing companies and title companies or whoever is assigning you work is sending texts out. But you know what? If the phone rings, even if it says spam, answer it and just say, if they say, hey, I'm selling you, a $5 off a hamburger or whatever, and you're not interested, say, I'm not interested. That's all you have to do. Or just hang up on them, just answer, but you answer the phone. That's the first thing. That's the first challenge that I'm having is, today I called several notaries, didn't get one to answer that and I the one that did answer, I do know her, and I send her a lot of work because she answers the phone. So, the other thing, as far as your profile, where you put your information out there on all these profiles, SnapDocs, signing order, wherever, you have to make sure that it's a complete profile. You have a photo of yourself. I mean, everybody, we've heard this around. Everybody says you need a picture. People want to know who they're doing business with, and don't have a picture of you and your cat. I mean, it should be a headshot that's a professional headshot. I mean, if you want to do pictures with your cat, that's fine. That's for Facebook or one of those social media things. Or, if you say, hey, I'm prepping documents and you're showing your cat, that's fine. Just don't do that on a profile where somebody's looking up and trying to hire you. The other thing on your profile, make sure you're clear on what you do. I'm a notary. I mean, you don't need to say how long you've been a notary. I mean, that could be if you're a brand new notary, that could be a negative aspect. But just be positive. Tell all your positive criteria, all the characteristics that you have. I show up on time, or whatever you want to put. I don't, but make it positive, make it something that is you, and sell yourself a bit. It doesn't need to be, I have $1 million of E&O or whatever. It doesn't need to be that, because I mean, I personally don't look at that stuff, because I'm not doing real estate transactions. I'm sending somebody that's, hey, I need a power of attorney signed. Oh, okay. So I'm not worried about that. And the other big thing that I'm finding that's an issue is notaries knowing how to notarize. Okay, so if you think you know what you're doing, take another course and make sure you know what you're doing. So I'm in California. We have to do a 6-hour class every 4 years. Of course, I work with the NNA kind of. I mean, I'm not employed with them, but I have to listen to that, 12 to 24 hours a month. So I know a little bit more, and I actually run real life scenarios by some of those instructors, and they're like, "What?" Because notaries do the wrong thing, and the problem. This is one of the problems when you make a mistake. Okay, obviously we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. Okay, I'm not saying I'm perfect.
We all
Okay.
do. We're human.
We all do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with the mistake, you have to say, "Hey, I made a mistake." If somebody says, "Hey, you made a mistake," just say, "Okay, no problem. Let me see. I can get out there." I have some. Even if you're booked up the whole day. Hey, I'm booked up all the day, but let me see if I can fit them in this half-hour slot and get it done. Whatever. Be the solution. Be able to share solutions so that somebody's like, hey, here's somebody, they made a mistake, they're going to go out of their way to get that corrected, because if you're dealing with real estate, you have to get that done right away. The stuff I'm dealing with, okay, fine, they can go out the next day. It's not a big deal, right? So, or I hope it's not a big deal. If it's somebody in the hospital, that might be a problem, but you know what I mean. So but
quick question.
Yeah.
So quick question, Jeff. What is the biggest mistake? Because you mentioned the big key is proper notarization. What is the number one thing you're seeing when it comes to people not notarizing correctly?
Well, in my case, it would be filling out certificates properly. So in California, in particular, we have all these elements. It has to be the exact language, all that stuff. And if it's just a little bit off, especially when you're doing apostille work, that when the document's going to the Secretary of State, it will get rejected. And so, for example, here we have to put our name, the notary public, and sometimes notaries put their name, notary, and that will be rejected at the Secretary of State. So that's what I'm talking about as far as errors go. I'm not saying you're not checking ID and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about make sure that you know that you have the venue filled in right, the dates right, all those elements, and double check that work, because I had a guy, he sent it to me. I went all the way to Sacramento. I got up there and they said, yeah, you can't do anything with this. I said, what's wrong? It's the venue. They put County of California. There's no County of California. So I had to go back, and this was a big deal because it came all the way up from LA, from some county, and the guy had to order it again. It took another couple weeks. Got it the second time. It was no good the second time. Even though, so I actually wrote this notary a letter because I can't get a hold of her. It's a county notary, right? I have to say, hey, you need to make sure that you put your name, notary public. All went through all the problems that I had, and I lost the money essentially because the guy he said, just do the documents that you have, and I'll just skip on that one because the notary was doing their notarization incorrectly, and it's costing everybody money. It's costing that guy time. Yes. I lost money, and it cost the notary at the county their time, and they get paid to sit there, but she had to do it again a couple of times when she could have solved the whole problem by knowing how to notarize. So
yeah, and see, that's one of the biggest things. That's what really pushed me into doing what I do on YouTube, is because so many people were calling me saying that they took all this training, but they didn't understand the notarial certificate. Then they're telling me that the trainers weren't talking to them about it or educating them on it. And I'm like, why not? And they're like, well, they want to make sure we know how to market and get the business. And that's why y'all hear me say the phrase all the time. What good does it know you marketing? What good does it do you knowing how to market the business if you can't do the business? That's right. And if you have somebody marketing to do interior design and then they get there and it's looking like Art Deco from the 20s, you're gonna have a fit.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody say, "Hey, we got a child care," and then you go to their house, and all it is basically a little bedroom with some play sand that they grabbed from the beach last week, and saying, "Yep, kids can have fun," and you got 20 kids stacked on top of each other. What you market has to meet with the skill set, and a lot of people think that as long as I have the aesthetics of the business, we good. As long as I look like a business, you should not care about anything else. You know, it's almost like that those cartoons when we was kids, the Bugs Bunny and all of them, and they'll have the little tiny house, but then inside he's like a big old juke joint, and they dancing, and then they come outside and look, and it's like, wait a minute, the house this small, but when you look inside, it's supposed to be this big. And that's what people are trying to do is make it look like I'm this big, but in all honesty, my operation is really here, and I'm just trying to make it till I make it. And I don't think that is actually a viable business anything anymore because it's just too much faking out here, and you need to be able to produce results for the people who are paying good money for you. They're looking for you to be somewhat competent or at least be able to reach out to people so that you can get the assistance that you need. They're not looking for you to be perfect, but they're at least looking for you to know the basics of what you're supposed to do and then have the resources or know where you can go to get additional help. And what I'm seeing is that a lot of people don't have the basics and they don't want help. And when they do ask for help, it's just tell me the 5 things I need to do. Just tell me the 2 things I need to do. But they don't want to actually learn how to deal with the situation so that they don't, if they get stuck in it again, they'll know what to do. They don't want to learn that. That's not what they want. They just want somebody to come and just say, do this. Okay, I'm successful. I made some money. Hoo-dee-hoo. And then on to the next one, you know. Okay, so now we're going to slide over to Constance. She's a signing company owner. Because now this young lady is the lender. So
I want to chime in.
This is, Jeff is the notary. He's just working with other notaries, just trying to get them out there. Then we got the signing company owner who has to work with the lender. I wish I had a title person here, but I couldn't find.
I do work behind the scenes in title, so I can be a title person.
So you can do both of them.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, the signing company and the title, why wouldn't you select the notary? So when they come, when you send a notification out, why wouldn't you select them?
Why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't you, as well as why would you?
Okay, so going back to like kind of supporting what Jeff had said about your profile. I don't know. I really push. I have a video out there. There's a link to it on my link tree. I don't know. This is the first time on this platform that I've been. So I try to, I don't know, but I have a really good video on notaries to build a strong profile to get you noticed and what signing services are looking for when selecting a notary.
Gotcha.
So, and I go over exactly what I look for. So what Jeff had said too, I want a picture. And it doesn't have to be like, and it's not because I care what you look like. It's almost like a full finished profile. Because to me, if you don't take the time to put a picture, now the about you, I always say the about you is really not about you. It's about what you can do for the hiring party and your E&O, your background, and your notary commission, all your credentials up to date. So I look for a profile picture, and your credentials up to date. So to me, if you can't put your profile picture, you can't put a good about you. If your profile is not thorough, well, to me, that's just saying you're just not a thorough person. And how thorough are you going to be doing signings? That's my perspective.
Okay, so like in Notary Resume, so one of the things I share with people to do, go to the notaryresume.com, which is connected to signing order, put in your zip code and pull up the notaries in your area. And when you do that, you look at what they put in there, and it's like, yes, I'm a former chief in the Navy, and I have good customer service skills, and I'm like, that does not communicate to the signing company that you know what to do in this role that you're in now.
And that's what I always say too. I always say that, and that video goes behind the scenes on signing orders. So I always say when I go on and select a notary and I'm reading their profile, I don't want in here, and I say this all the time, it doesn't matter to me that I love it that you love to go hiking in the woods with your dog on the weekends and canoeing. That's great. I love that for you. I don't care. Like, get to the point. Like, get to the point. Tell me what you can do for me, for the hiring party. Tell me what you can do. If your profile catches me, you have all the credentials, you're going to be a choice. And I don't say that it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, because I do give new notaries a chance to, because I'm very open and helping and will help guide you. But just tell me you're new. If you're really new, just tell me. I might have a few questions, and that's fine. So really, for me to select a notary, your credentials have to be up to date. You have to have a picture, a profile picture, and your profile, you have to have a good, strong profile.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because you don't want, that's, as a signing service, yes, that is exactly what I'm looking for.
Now,
yeah, and just let me jump in. The reason why she's talking about having a complete profile is because on signing order, I ran into this last week. I sent out the text, and some guy texts back, "I'm retired." Okay, so of course it wasn't completely up to date, but I'm just saying that things like that happen. And if you kept your profile up to date and say, hey, if it said in your profile, hey, I'm retired, I don't know how to remove my profile, that's fine. Then we wouldn't send it out to you, right? So, so that's why it's important to keep it up to date.
Absolutely. And your credentials, keep it up to date at all times.
Now, I'm going to ask you this about the profile, and this is for men and women. Jeff already talked about don't have your cats up there and your dogs and your squirrels and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But what about the way they're dressed? And now, the reason why is because I've seen some pictures on there where it's like just right here for the young lady, and all of this is bare.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you see. This, I'm not trying to be funny, y'all. So
you're not kidding. It's
right,
true.
but you see this, and my philosophy has been this: just talking real life. They send that picture out to the customer a lot of times, that profile picture. Mm-hmm. And if you have a situation, and I hopefully it's not rampant, but if you have a situation where the young lady's husband has some issues keeping his eyes where they need to be, staying faithful, or has some issues in the past, that can make that young lady feel a little iffy about coming to you coming to them when your profile picture is showing nothing but bare shoulders.
I say tasteful.
Right, be tasteful.
Tasteful picture, professional picture. And it doesn't have to be a pro portrait picture, just something very tasteful and professional.
Right. Modern. And I say the same thing for the guys, because I see guys all the time with their shirt open, chest hair flaying in the thing. I'm like, come on now, this ain't Miami Vice, Philip Michael Thomas and all that kind of stuff. Keep that over there in the club pictures, on the biker pictures, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, they don't need to see, and and all of that. So that is real good. So we understand. So from the signing company perspective, you're saying I need to see some details in your profile that indicate to me that you know what you're doing with regards to loan closings. You don't have to give me a dissertation, but you need to inform me that you understand what to do. Got it. Okay, cool. And Jeff had to go because he got a closing at 6:30. So I'm like, all right, got it. So, and that's one of the things that I've shared with people over and over again. They need to know that you know what to do. Even though you might be new, they need to know that you understand the basics, not double side printing,
Right.
not emailing documents,
Right.
not just leaving. One of the things that used to happen was that people was having so many orders that they would get to Earl and Janice and then say, okay, look, here's your documents. Go ahead on and start signing wherever you see your name. I'll be back in 45 minutes because I got another signing that I got to go knock out. And they would run down the street, go do that, and then come back and get theirs. Hey, thank you very much. And then go to FedEx and just sit there stamping everything at FedEx because they can't take the time out to do it properly in front of them. So that's what you want to know from a signing company, that they're not going to act a fool and do that wrong.
Right.
So from a title perspective, when the signing company brings you people, I know your requirements from a title perspective might be a little different. How much so?
Well, because the documents are going back to the title, they're going back to title. Okay. And then title has to send them to the lender. So from a title perspective, it's the same thing. You have to, like, they have to be correct. They have to be notarized correctly. They have to be filled out correctly. And so because if they don't, then, if they're not correct, then they can't fund the loan. That can hold up loan funding. It could hold it up for sure.
Now,
Okay.
is there a minimum that y'all look for?
A minimum?
Minimum of years experience, number of signing, because some of the signing companies have been putting out, not, I know not all of them, but some of them are like, new notaries that call me say, Grip, they're telling me because I don't have any under my belt, they won't use me.
That's, for me, as a signing service, that doesn't matter to me, because if they're new though, and I would rather them tell me that they're new and just say, I might have a few questions. I would much rather, I welcome that actually. And I will help them and I'll walk them through, if they have any questions. I don't require that. I don't require that they have X amount of signings, because to me, so you got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
You have to start somewhere. And I don't think that that's fair, because there could be notaries, like you were saying before, there could be notaries that just don't really put their all into it, and they could have 20, 50 signings under their belt, but still not take it serious. Not that they're not taking it seriously, but their work, they're not
Attention to detail.
Right, attentive to detail, as to where a brand new notary who's just starting might be like, okay, this is what, I'm taking over this, I'm doing this business, I really want it. And they're checking. And that's what I also teach too, is like, when you're new, you check, check, recheck, and triple check.
Correct.
Right. I teach them how to do that. And it's okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to not pick a notary because they're brand new. I will.
All right.
I'll give anyone a shot.
Now, this next, before we get over to Constant, now this next question is key.
Okay.
What are some of the things that they might say about themselves that make you sort of iffy? Now, one of the things that, if I was a signing company owner, and this is what I've been told by other signing company owners, is the number one thing they've told me is when a person says, I'm 100% error free.
Because that's impossible.
Right. So when you see certain things in a profile or certain statements or bragging about themselves, what is it that makes you pause and like, I don't know about that?
That's a good question. You know what? You stumped me on that one, because I don't really know. I mean, probably, well, definitely not a complete profile would make me stop. I guess what you're saying, error free, because that's impossible.
Right.
Nobody's error free. Wow. I don't really know. I'd have to like give that some thought because that is
I
a really
know,
good
I
question.
know. I
You're
knew that was
stumping me,
coming.
Griff. That's a first. I'm stumped a little bit but the thing that would stop me though, the wordage, probably something along those lines, like I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that, and saying how great they are instead
Right,
of saying great customer service. I fulfill the needs of the signing service. Um, that's more for me to choose them than about me, I.
right.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
because that's some of the stuff that I've seen, that, notaries like, well, I need to tell them that I'm error free, I'm this, and I'm like,
Yeah,
don't put yourself out there like that.
right.
Because if you do, I said, why don't you tell them what you don't make mistakes that you focus on not doing, which is one of the things that I did in my profile was I'm willing to work with seniors. I'm willing to work with people with disabilities. I respect other people's cultures because we have those issues.
That's
People,
true.
religious beliefs and stuff.
That's
So
very
you
good.
might be Christian or you might be Muslim, and you come around a Catholic. Will you respect their culture? Will you respect the people's homes? Like I said, I don't double side print. I don't email the documents. Um, I don't force people to sign what they don't want to sign. I don't have them sign the note when they're not supposed to sign the note. I think when people communicate those skill sets, that means, okay, you at least understand these are things that shouldn't be done. But what I'm finding is that the people who don't say those things, they tend to do them because if I say that I don't, then you have something to hold
Right,
me to the fire,
right.
because I might try to get slick and double side print or email a document when I feel I don't have enough paper or whatever. So I'm gonna do this. But if I say it in my profile, then I can't do that.
You're held to
If I
that
get
standard.
caught,
Hmm.
then Constant's gonna be like, "But you said in your profile you don't do
Right,
this, and you did. Now
right.
you now you're really caught."
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So over to Christina, the loan officer extraordinaire.
The pressure. No, I've been chomping at the bit. I have so many notes. You all made so many great points. Can I jump in there, Griff, now and just go?
Yep, just go.
Okay, so all right, I have noticed that most people don't even understand the order. So everybody is just trying to make this $10,000 a month, and everything you said, Griff, they're trying to be bigger than what they are. And I
Mhm.
think Jeff had said it earlier. We need to first understand the job of a notary public, then notary signing agent, and you need to be trained. So the lender, we don't work directly with the notary publics, notary signing agents. I
Right.
hire title all day.
Mhm.
So my job is to make sure the escrow officer and the title company is going to fulfill the position properly and hire the knowledgeable notary public, because at the end of the day, these are our clients.
Mhm.
So you're an extension of us. The notary public is going to close this and bring it home for us. I'm working right now, like you all are. Like my phone's gone crazy. I
Mhm.
am doing mortgages, 365 Sundays, vacation. So I don't want a title company that's going to hire incompetent signing agents.
Mhm.
And I think Jeff had said it earlier about this costs a lot of money. I'm locking rates. So when we lock these rates, the borrower's paying for that.
Okay.
So when a notary is not completing the job properly and it has to keep going back and forth, it's delaying funding. Some of our clients have moved out of the homes. They have their families, pets, and they're living in hotels. So they are relying on this closing to be closed
Mhm.
properly. On top of that, not only is this jeopardizing their home that they're trying to move in, it's also we can't eat. We've
Right.
worked on this client possibly for a year sometimes. So I got a little passionate there. But
Yeah.
we have to remember that at the end of the day, the borrower, the client, that's most important. It's not really about how great we are as notary publics. It's, you know, all the showboating. If you just remember the why, we're there to solve a problem, and we're
Right.
supposed to be making it. I'm sorry, I didn't even say I'm a notary public as well. I started as a notary public, worked my way all the way up to a loan officer.
Okay.
So you just have to remember that the borrower is first. That's the client. Everybody's working as a team. You're an extension of the lender. So when you go out there, I've made notes. Hygiene, it comes back to us. Our borrowers come back to us. They tell on everybody in this scenario. They're telling on the title company. They're telling on the notary.
They are.
So it comes back to us. They're telling us if you print double-sided, if you do not leave the documents with them. Yeah, like so.
Yeah,
Go
you
ahead.
know what? And I say too, we're the last person that they see. The closer. We're the last person they see. Everybody relies on us to get it done. Everyone. And yeah, so professional, knowledgeable, and you know, there's a lot of times too where I've heard situations and I almost like cringe, and they're just like, nope, we're not getting, like, they're not. I work too, like I said, I work behind the scenes in title. I work with title too. Like, we're all trying to get it closed. The lender's trying to get it closed. Title's trying to get it closed. The notary's trying to get it closed. We all, like you said, we all want to get paid, right? So if something goes wrong or something's wrong, then you do whatever you can. All of our objective is to get this closed. So let's do what we can to all meet that objective, right?
Right.
And, you know, and the reason I'm thinking of this too is I was at a signing a couple weeks ago, and it was a refinance, and it was an older couple. And if you don't have a notary there, a closer there who is knowledgeable, who understands, and that's why I always tell notaries, before you go marketing yourself directly to title companies, to understand the settlement process, you know, understand how it all works. But I was working, and the loan officer came to the closing, and it was an older couple, and I was very patient with them, and I went over everything with them, and I went through, and the loan officer at the end, she said, "Thank you so much, because just thank you. That's all I can say. You're a blessing." And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it is so important. It really, really is so important. And like you said, we're the last people that they're with.
Right.
You know, we're the last person that they're with. Let's just all get it closed. You know, there's a lot of notaries too that could just be like, "Oh, well, that's wrong. Okay, I got to go." You know, no. Pull it back in. Pull it back in.
But you know what? They're doing that. They're getting up and leaving closings instead of picking up the telephone and calling.
That's right. That's right. And communication is key. And yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go off topic or anything, but like, as a trainer, right? And just assigning service and doing this, I think there's a lot of notaries out there who will say, "I just point and sign and notarize."
Right.
No. And I will fight this to the very end. Anyone that would, no, you have to understand the loan documents. You have to. Like, you need to go through, not saying that you're going through and giving any legal advice, but you need to know what those documents are. You need to know what they're for. I mean, do we come across documents that were kind of like, yeah, but if you just read the first paragraph, you'll know what it is. Like, you have to be familiar with them, because they'll be like, well, what is that? And you can't be a point and sign notary. You just can't do it. You're not going to be successful. And you know, I just think that you need to know, you need to know the documents. And that's why I train my notaries to go over the CD first. Because if there is an issue, right? If there's an issue, let's get it fixed in the beginning and not wait until the end. Like, I pulled the CD out, CD, note, mortgage, and anything after that, fine. And because if there is an issue, let's get it fixed and not wait, you know, and then the notary has to leave or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's where I just think it's important that they know the loan documents for sure.
I would like to piggyback off of that too. Um, yeah. Oh my God, I drew a blank. I know it's gonna. I do it all the time. Yeah. Most of us are sitting waiting. We know our closings are closing. We know everything about these closings. So we're waiting with our phones on. You can just call. We're more than happy to explain right at the table. We would prefer than the notary assume or just not complete the assignment.
Right.
We're literally waiting with
Yeah.
bated breath.
And it's really communication, signing service, title. Communication is key. Like even when I'm doing closings, I just always shoot the escrow officer a text. We're all done, closed. You can send out proceeds. If there's no funding or whatever, and money, if money's in, all that, yes, we're good to go. We're closed. It's just communication. Yep. And then they can, I'll always send them the Alta, and then I bring back the documents. They scan them. They do what they have to do, and they know they can fund.
Now, here's one of the things that I've been told over and over again is that some of the training folk out there, as I call them TMCs, trainer mentor coaches.
That's the new acronym. Yes.
And another acronym is TMMC, the trainer, mentor, marketer, and coach, because there's a little bit, sometimes they get in there and tell some incorrect things. Some of them are telling notaries, if you call the title company or the signing company and ask for help, they're going to think you're dumb and stupid and not know what you're doing. So you have this dilemma that I've been told that's out here of, and again, y'all may not be aware of this, okay? So that the notary is trying to focus on being able to do what you said, Constant. Try to be able to go through the documents. But what I'm finding is that some of them are struggling with basic comprehension. I'm just going to be real with you.
Sure.
Their ability to comprehend under pressure, just starting, is negative 5,000. And then when they're in their mind and in their heart, they're like, I should call for help. But my trainer, who I pay X amount of dollars for, said, if I call, I'm going to get blacklisted because they're going to think I don't know what I'm doing. So you have this dilemma. So I'm thinking that maybe somewhere along the line, the lender and the title company and signing company needs to put out more vehemently, hey, you need to call us irregardless of what you've been told out here in the training sphere. And that's one of the things that is happening, because now y'all know, if y'all been following me along, y'all know I tell people all the time, call me if you're at the table. And there are so many people who will talk to me for 5 and 6 days, 2 and 3 weeks before they get their first signing. They get their first signing and it's crickets. They don't even tell me or nothing. And then 3 days, on average, 3 days after the closing is done, they're like, Griff, I think I got blacklisted. And I asked them, I said, why didn't you call me when you was in the signing? Oh, well, I didn't want you to think I didn't know what I was doing. I said, did you? Because apparently you didn't. Because now you're sweating bullets. So I'm like, y'all got to get out of it. Well, I don't want them to think that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want them to think I'm some dumb notary. And I'm like,
everybody's got to start somewhere.
Right. So you want to start, but you don't want to ask questions. Now, I will say this. My personal experience, I've never had the lender fuss at me for calling. I have had the title company or signing company get on me for calling and asking them a question.
Oh no,
and one time, right. And I can't remember which one, but I told them, I said, whatever it is I asked them, and it was something that they needed to be able to answer. And they said, why don't you know this? You need to go take training. That's what they said with a little snort.
That's not a good answer right at that moment.
I said, and I told them, I said, what you need to understand is that these trainers aren't teaching us in every aspect of this business, because they don't know every aspect of the business. And some of them are no longer doing what I'm doing. So they're teaching me from what they did 5 to 10 years ago, not currently what y'all are presenting to us. So I can take everybody's training out there and I can still not have learned what I need to know right now, what I need y'all. I said, so either you help me or you don't, because if you don't, as one person said earlier, if you help me and I get this done, then we all get paid. The loan gets funded and we all get paid. So I need your help in this regard. And the person, I guess once they thought about it, they went head on and provided me the assistance that I needed. So many people know that I talk about not explaining the documents, and I'm explaining the reason why. The reason why I go down that road is because the people who call me and contact me, there are people in this business that, and you probably would never come across them, Constance. They'll never be on your radar. And the reason why is because they are so scared and timid and so shell shocked behind trying to understand the proper way to articulate and the flow of doing a closing with giving a summary that they don't get started. They never get started, and they've been in the business 2 to 4 years. And I asked them, I said, what's going on? They said, well, I'm still trying to understand how I'm going to say such and such. When I get the document, what's the flow? And I'm like, okay. I said, here's the thing. If you're doing a refinance, and the chances are, if you're doing a refinance with a couple that is older, that's been in the housing market for a while, they probably don't need you to say too much about the documents. I said, so just go ahead on and accept the order and fill it out. And I said, now at minimum, say the title of the document. If you are nervous and you get tongue-tied, and the other aspect is there are some people whose verbal diction is not as eloquent as others. So when they start trying to talk, it don't sound right. And some of them feel embarrassed because they may not talk as elegant as they think they should. So I said, just focus on getting through the closing for us, getting them to sign, date, initial, answering any questions above their signature. And I said, as you do it, your nerves will calm down. But a lot of people are not doing it because they want to be able to articulate things about the document.
Well,
and maybe they're misunderstanding when people say it, but that's one of the things that's holding them up. So I'm trying to get people like, just get out there and do it.
Sorry, I don't want. So that's what I would say. Like, don't let the fear of making a mistake keep you from starting, right? Because what we're saying, everybody's human. Everybody makes a mistake. It's not the mistake you make. It's how you fix it, right? But that's why in my training, I put a whole mock signing of how I go over the loan documents, and you can print out the documents and make note, and how I go over, like, very quickly, not a big, huge, long explanation of the documents, but summarize it, understand what it is in case you're asked a question. So that's what they need to do. They need to honestly, like, watch a mock signing, listen. And I have one of my students who listens to it over and over. So when I go, how I go over the document, like, they understand what it is. Like, what is the note? What is the mortgage? What is this? What is that? So mock signings and just listening to it are great for someone who's just starting out.
That is correct. And see, at one point, and we're going to come back to you there, Christina. At one point, what I was trying to do, I was asking notaries to just come and observe. But I had so many people attacking me. I'll just be straight with you. They was attacking me and saying, that's wrong. You can't do that. They cannot come. And I said, why can't they come when they're NNA certified? Because my criteria was you had to be NNA certified, going through the background check. And I said, what you're going to do is I'm going to be here. You're going to be over here, and you just going to stand there and watch. Don't say a word. Don't say anything. And I'm going to let the customer know ahead of time. I have one of my colleagues coming to watch and observe, because here's what I do know for a fact, that the moment, because everybody talks about being a visual learner. So 98% of the people that's in this notary business say, well, I can't learn unless I see it. Okay, So give them the opportunity to see it. But when I was doing it, and then I would have a little interview with them afterwards, and they would say how it squashed a lot of their fears and concerns. And then they were like, okay, now I see how to do this. Now I understand what I need to do. I had so many notaries coming after me. And I even went to the NNA and asked them, and they were like, well, no, we suggest that you don't. And I said, so I can't take a NNA certified notary, but I can grab some random person off the street for a Florida property to be a witness.
Right. Right.
And they said, what? Okay, well, when you put it like that,
Right.
Yes, I said, so how do we get to learn? Because when you look at the deficiency that the lender, the title, and the signing company are dealing with, is notaries who don't have any practical experience after spending all of this time in the classroom. There's no practical experience for them to have. No groups of notary. Now we have all these meetups, but nobody is actually doing a real closing. And from the standpoint, the mock signings that a lot of people are doing, not everybody, but some of them are doing, they're just going over the quote unquote 7 critical documents, but they're not showing them the full flow. So whenever I have time and I do a training and I have a mock signing, I actually have a 200-page reverse mortgage that you're going to go through. You're going to go through a loan application. You're going to go through all of these documents from start. I mean, it's every page, 185 pages, and you're going to go through and show me each and every single page, because you need to get muscle memory in that,
Right.
which will help you squash all of your fears, because there's a lot of people out there, TMCs and non-TMCs or wannabes, that are making people fearful about the loan closing, but they're not giving them a solution to overcome the fear. So
I agree
now,
with that.
so now, Christina, I want you to talk about a couple of items that we talked about the other day. You talked about smudge papers.
Oh, yes. Well, I wanted to hit that hygiene first, though, because that's on my nerves.
Hygiene first. Go ahead on.
Okay. Yeah, we really have to be mindful with the professionalism. We can't smell like alcohol. They're smelling like alcohol. They're smelling like how can I say it?
Straight
smoke.
funky.
Well, it's smoke. It's like marijuana.
That vape stuff.
Yes, people are showing up to closing smelling like this. They're coming in street clothes and flip flops, and you know what's going on, because when you get signing orders, when you're assigned, there's 25 to 45 pages of instructions that you have to go through. It's like they used crayons to highlight and basically show you how to do the full closing. They shouldn't be having to tell you, dress professionally, make sure you don't smell, make sure your hair is tidy. Again, it goes back to representation. You're representing us. We put all this work and effort in, and I know I keep going over this, but this takes a lot of time and effort, and it's people's lives. So show up professional, smell properly. You're going into their home. Be mindful of that. Another thing, yes, if it says it's both legal and letter, then that's exactly what it is. Don't take it upon yourself to just print on whatever you want.
Right.
Don't print in public places, libraries, and where else? Staples. And I've seen so much going crazy. Don't leave people's documents, the FedEx and UPS packages, on the front seat of the cars. We can see this stuff. There's more. I have more.
Go for it.
The smudges, the cheaper brand of ink, the toner. No, it smudges up the paperwork. We can't read it. Sometimes it's bleeding through. These are legal documents. These are being recorded with the county.
Yes.
You have to be mindful. It's professional 100%. So we're not going to deal directly with the signing agent, but where it's going to be felt is when everyone starts saying, why am I not getting jobs? Why are they these low ball offers? Because what's happening is we all communicate to one another. We're sitting back at lunchtime and we're saying, hey, lender Joe, did you use this title company? We too blackball, but we're going to hit the title company. We're not going to use them. So it's going to trickle down. Then that signing company is not going to be used anymore because, it trickled down. So I think what you said, Constance, we all have to be mindful of what we're here to do. And it is to make sure the borrower or the client gets what they need successfully, properly. And if there's a mistake, like everyone said, I still make them as a lender. Every bank is different.
Makes mistakes. It's
Right.
human nature. And, everyone is going to do it. I mean, everyone's going to do it. Nobody's perfect. It's going to happen.
Correct. You have to care enough to get the job complete.
Yes.
So if you make an error, own up to it and just solve the problem.
Yes.
What's something else, Griff? I know there was like a
something
whole
else.
Smudge
You said,
paper.
the black and blue. The black and blue.
Consistency, right? That's a big one for us. You have to know your law. So in New Jersey, we can use black or blue ink, but my number rule thing when I started as a notary, it was always check and see, hey, I'm going to ask you any special instructions on this signing. What's the lender's preference, black or blue ink? Like you have to ask this. If it's verbiage, are they signing with just their name? If it's a LLC, are we using member behind? These little details, they're very important. So you need to ask questions. Someone else had a question too. I wanted to chime in. I think someone asked and said they have a 9 p.m. closing. And what happens if an issue arises?
And I told her, well, one, normally there will still be somebody, because they normally have a West Coast office. But again, just being honest, some of the lesser signing companies that's just out there trying to make some money might not have anybody. So here's what you do. You email, text, you contact them in every way possible. You ask your signers to contact their representative. A lot of time the loan officers are still got their phone and are available. If you look at the signature page of the CD, it will have contact information on there. If there isn't any contact information in the instructions. I've worked with Camille a lot. So Camille, she knows she can give me a holler if she really gets stuck on anything, and I will do everything I can to talk her through whatever the issue may be. So have a paper trail of the fact that you actually reached out to people. Leave a voicemail. If it's on signing order, use the contact us blue button and leave, send something. If it's Snap Docs, do whatever you have to do. Reply to any emails, all of that. If for some reason they say, well, we don't want to do it, okay, cool. You hit the cancel button, the button said they did not sign, and you articulate why they didn't sign. And then what I personally do is I will send it, I will get in my car, and I will just drive down the street a little bit. And I will give them 15 minutes or so, because a lot of time I don't know what it is on their end, but sometimes when they see that, it did not happen, then all of a sudden you get phone calls. All of a sudden everybody can wake up and start answering now they want to, why didn't it happen and everything. And now they say, well, where are you? I said, I'm right down the street. Have you had somebody to talk to them so I can go back? And then I will be honest, about 80% of the time it's we just gonna have to reschedule. But it seems like that's when it happens. Now I don't say just go around hitting they didn't sign just to get somebody to call you, but put forth an effort. And just being honest with you, some of the companies, I don't think they always check their voicemail. So you leave voicemails with the signing company, and there's no proof that you ever left it, because they can just hit delete. So you gotta text, email, all of those things, so that way you're fully covered. Now, what you also should do is do it in front of the customer, because now they see you putting forth effort and they see you trying to contact your people, so that way they know that you did it. Because if they ask the customer, well, did you see Griff contact? Because what most people tend to do, and I notice that, well, I'm gonna step away from them and try to reach the signing company. is there any proof? Now it look like Constant is saying, no, don't do that.
No. I'm just thinking, like, I don't understand why during a signing, if you're
Nobody's available.
right. Like, I know that if I have a closing going on, there's a signing, I don't leave my desk until I know my closer's done. Like,
Correct.
I don't understand that. Like, to me, that just
And
doesn't
some of them
make
have,
sense.
well, I deal with that
Ugh,
constantly, you know, it's like,
that's
and
crazy.
I'm sitting here like, okay. And the people, and then they contact me back, but I make sure I'm very articulate in that. And there's times where I will sit there and tell them, oh, let me share with this here. Loan applications. I don't know if this is what I've come across. The loan officer, for some reason, I don't know if they're fibbing to me or what, but I will, if the person doesn't sign, or even if they do, I go into the signing order or whatever and say the order is complete. They did it, or they did not sign, and here's the reason why. Then I get the loan officer calling me, asking me, did they sign? And I'm like, did you not get the notification of that? So I have to remind myself not to allow myself to get frustrated, because I've been conditioned these 7 years to not really communicate, and that it's a bad thing to be trying to talk to them. I'm supposed to deal with the signing company, the hiring agent. So I'm like, if you want to know what's going on, use the tool that we have, which is signing order, SnapDoc, signature closers, to find out if the order completed. And I'm like, but I put it in the thing, and sometimes they'll say, well, yeah, I saw that, but I just wanted to hear from you. And I'm like, okay, I understand. So a lot of times, like case in point, yesterday I had a closing. It got delayed big time. And they got me the document. Well, no, they told me, hey, we just got the title. The lender just sent the documents to title. And the signing company said, we'll have them in a little bit. I said, okay, no problem. So I'm sitting there eating my food, talking to the wife. The lender calls. Hey, have you got the documents yet? I said, no, I haven't. I said, they just heard that the title just received them, and that I'll be getting them from the contracting company shortly. So when are you going to get over there? I can't tell you when I'm going to get over there because I don't have any documents. So when do you think you're going to be available to go over there? I said,
what part of I don't have,
right.
As soon as I get the documents, I'll have
So
a better idea.
So I told the person, I said, here's the thing. I'm not going to give you an ETA of any sort, because you're going to use that against me if for some reason, if I tell you I'll be there in 20 minutes and 19 minutes go by and I just get the documents and I'm not there in 20 minutes, because you want to share with the signer when I'm going to be there, and then they're expecting me and I don't, and then it falls back on me. I said, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but it will be improper for me to promise you or to even suggest that I will be at some place in a certain amount of time when I don't have the necessary item that I need to even make the estimation. I said, if you can get me the documents, then I would do that. But you're not talking about getting me the documents. You just want me to tell you something so you can tell someone else. And all they said was, okay, all right, thank you. So I immediately informed the signing company of what was going on, because I don't know what they're going to share with the signing company. Say, oh, wait, he was mean and nasty or whatever.
Right.
Hey, this, that, and the other happened, ... And this is what I told them. Signing company hit me back up and said, I understand sometimes they got people who don't understand the process. The reason why there was a delay, and this is for all notaries, the reason why there was a delay from the title company, from the signing company getting them to me, is because they had certain instructional pages they wanted to put in the closing documents to guide the notary through to make sure that we don't screw the stuff up.
Who did,
and
title or
everything.
the signing service?
Huh?
Title or the signing service?
The signing services.
Oh, okay.
The signing service. Because when I looked at the stuff, I was like, okay, yeah, this is signing service stuff that they put in here, and they wanted to make sure that, okay, they had these. So I'm like, okay, so basically it was another 20 some minutes after getting the first notification that, hey, the title got the documents and we'll have them to you short. It was a full like 20 minutes before I got them. And then once I got them, I rolled on out. And then they're like, so when you gonna get there? I said, I'm here. I was like, I'm here.
See,
I was like, I said, I'm here. I got it done.
Yeah, the signing service should already have that, like, in their confirmation to the notary. Like, there are certain instructions that they expect before, like, and then that should already be given to them in their confirmation, like, you know, whatever they want. And then when the documents come over, just upload them and be done. You don't need to add your stuff to it. It should, like, a good signing service would already have that on their confirmation sheet, you know, because that's
Correct.
just, that's delaying. That is delaying things. And yeah, that's not, yeah. So the
And
signing
they had them at
service,
certain intervals. So it was like, here's this document. It was like, okay. And it was like 5 or 6 instructional sheets and everything. And I was like, okay, got it. But
yeah.
so help me to understand and help us to understand, what do you really want from a notary when they get the order? What is it that you're really looking for notaries to do? Their attitude, so forth and so on. Because some of them don't have the right attitude. Let's just be real.
They don't.
They don't.
They
So
don't.
you're looking for a notary. What type of attitude are you looking for them to have?
Me, you're asking me?
Well, either one. And then we're going to bring Jasmine on to ask her question.
I mean, I want someone who's professional. I want someone who is going to communicate with me. Someone who follows instructions. Someone who their attitude is, I mean, taking the job serious and treating this job like just being, you know, just being professional and taking the job seriously. It's not just, you know, it's not just, oh, well, whatever, you know, no, that it drives me crazy when a notary just doesn't communicate. It drives me crazy. So if I assign a notary a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to be calling them. Did you get the docs? Like, yeah, sometimes I don't do it through signing order, and I have to email them through I email them from the title through to, and I always say, please confirm you received the documents. Just confirm you received the documents. Like, let me know when and that's in my instructions too. Like, let me know when the closing's done. Like, just shoot me a text. Let me know. Keep me informed every step of the way. It drives me crazy when I can't get a hold of them or when they don't communicate with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want notaries to call me. Like, please call me if you have any questions, any issues, anything you don't understand. Please don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call me, because 99.9% of the time, I will be able to answer the question. This way you don't have to bother the lender or title or whatever, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now I just put this question in the chat. If anybody, just be honest, y'all. Have you, as a notary, have you ever been told that you should not call the signing company or title for help? Just put a number 2 in the chat. I've been told that, you know.
But why though? I don't understand why. Why would someone tell you? I always train my notaries, if you have any questions, first call the hiring party. First and foremost, call the hiring party. And if they can't answer it, the hiring party will either call title, they'll call the lender, but always reach out to the hiring party first. Unless, of course, it's, and Christina, you can confirm this as a loan officer. I tell them, always call your hiring party first with any questions. However, if there is an error, this is why I like to go over the CD first, because if there's an error in the loan amount or the interest rate, that is when you call the loan officer, because those are two things. Because a lot of the things are coming, like a lot of the fees are coming from settlement, from title, whether it be taxes or, sewer or payoffs. But if there's an error in your interest rate or loan amount, absolutely pick up the phone and call the loan officer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you confirm that you feel that's the right thing to say?
Oh.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm laughing because I put a 2 in the chat there, Griffin. You said, "Who are you?"
Oh, that's in the private chat.
Oh, that's
That's
in the
not in the
okay.
public chat. No,
Okay.
I was trying to figure out who this other person that's on stage here is. That's listed as L. I don't know who that is, so I need to know who
Okay.
you are before I bring you up on. So,
Yes,
Jasmine,
Constance.
are you ready to ask your question? And if you're talking, I can't hear you at the moment, Jasmine.
I can't.
I don't hear you. Well, I do agree with you, Constance. Real quick.
Good. Okay.
All right, Jasmine, talk to
Can
us.
you hear me? Hi.
Yep.
Hi.
Can you see my granddaughter right here is trying to get in?
I've seen her a few times earlier. So
All right.
cute.
So, ask your question, Jasmine.
I'm sorry, what was that?
So, what questions do you have for the ladies who are here on the screen?
So I guess one of the questions I would have as a scheduler would be when it comes to documents and getting this thing signed, how important is it to make sure we sign whether it's considered undersigning or oversigning? How do we look into those things?
Who's the question for?
Gotcha. Okay, so you said undersigning and oversigning on the documents.
Mm-hmm.
So oversigning would be considered just having people just sign everything.
So pretty much like the names on the signature line. If somebody's name is going to be
Okay, gotcha.
like Jane Doe Smith, but they only sign Jane Doe, how do we go about that?
Okay, so from my perspective, what I if the signature, most of the signing companies that I've been dealing with here for the work that I've been doing in Virginia, they've actually shared with me, hey, we want the signers to sign exactly like this. So when I'm doing Boston National Title, they always have in there signed exactly as their name is printed. Like I did one with Villa Title today. I triple, quadruple check. They didn't have that in there whatsoever. So if the signers want to sign their first, middle, last name as it's on the line, then I'm like, no problem, go for it. And I recently had a situation where I'll just make up a name, Earl Jones. That was his name, Earl Jones. That's the way he signed it. On the document, it had an error on it. It had Earl F. Jones on the title documents, and then it had Earl W. Jones, which was correct on the lender documents. Reached out, nobody would respond. We asked, say, hey, we got this error. What do y'all want to do? Nobody would contact us back. So he said, I'm just going to sign Earl Jones. I said, no problem, because your license says Earl W. Jones, and it was a junior also in that. So I said, no problem, just cool. Plus, I'm witnessing it, so I see him signing, so we good. 3 days later, the title hit the signing company up and said, we need the notary to go back and have him sign as Earl W. Jones Jr. on that, some in affidavits and the note. I was like, no problem, I can do that. The issue was they wanted me to backdate it for 3 days ago. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't sign today saying that he signed Earl W. Jones Jr. 3 days ago when he's actually signing it that way today. So they never got back with me on that. But I tend to just go with whatever the instructions say. If the instructions say you need to have them signed exactly, I highlight that. I grab my trusty highlighter, and I have them look at it and read it for themselves. And I said, "Do you have any problems signing this way? Because if you do, then we need to contact somebody." I said, additionally, if they're asking you to sign exactly the way it's printed, that means they want it in a legible, somewhat legible way, and not this scribble doctor type stuff. Are you okay with doing that? If you are, then great. If not, then we need to contact somebody so you can articulate to them that you have concerns, or you just don't have the ability to write your name in a legible fashion because you've done this wiggly thing for 80 years now, and you cannot train your hand for the next hour to sign it correctly. So that's what I end up doing. What do you say, ladies?
Do you mind if I go, Constance?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I'm really strict. So as a notary signing agent, 100% of the time they're signing exactly the way it's pre-printed, even if it fluctuates between lender to title docs. Whatever is pre-printed, that's how we're signing. They give me every excuse in the book. Reverse signings, their hands are going through everything. You know, we take breaks. But no, we're signing exactly that way, and we have consistency with the date. I never get pushback. It's just in your demeanor, how you deliver it. I mean, you know, they know that I'm working on their behalf and we don't want to delay funding. So just sign it the way it's pre-printed, and when in doubt, call. Find out exactly how they want it signed. Then, you know, it won't fall on you. It'll fall on the higher end company or the title company or the lender. 100% sign the way it's pre-printed.
Right. And I do the same exact thing, except like if their signature is, you know, like,
like a doctor.
Yeah. Then just sign as you normally would sign your normal signature. But if your signature is legible,
right,
and it is including your middle name, you are to sign with your middle name. 100%. Yes. As the doc, as sign as your name appears below. If your signature is legible, if it is not legible and it's one of the scribblies, I usually sometimes, that's why I like to also too go over title docs first, because this way I can get an idea of what their signature is. Like if their signature is very, you know, clear on the loan documents, you need to make sure you include your middle name. If it's this, then we're good.
Yeah. And now one of the other issues that I found, and I never had thought about this until a person was fussing about it, because I had instructions that said they need to sign exactly as the name is printed in a legible manner. That's exactly what it said. Well, the guy told me, he said, "Well, I don't agree with that." And I said, "Why?" I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Because when I filled out my loan application, ain't nobody had any problems with the way I signed in." And I was like, "Okay." I said, "Good point." He said, "So what's the problem?" He said, "Let's get somebody on the phone." And he fussed them out. And he was like, "Look," he said, "the point that his point was, I've been signing all of your documents that y'all been sending my way the way that it is on my driver's license. And now you're telling me that I gotta now sign this other way. Why? I don't understand it." And he was very, very demanding. And the guy told him, they ended up like, "Okay, just sign however, and just so we can get this done." Because he was like, "I don't like the flipping." I think he was military, so he was and he was like, "I get that y'all want that, but these last 3 months, everything that y'all sent my way that I had to sign and send back to y'all never had a problem with the way I signed. And now you're telling me that signature is no good. Only this one, which I don't consider my quote unquote official signature, is the one that y'all willing to accept. And I don't like the fact that you got me signing my name in a manner that I have not been doing, that I don't consider my official signature." That's what I'm just telling you.
I know.
So
by the time that he went through all that, he could have, you know, it's just,
yes.
You know, you could have just signed it. And like Michelle said something, as people refuse to sign a certain way. And like, I'm not at the table. And again, I train notaries to do the same. Like, I'm not going to argue or like debate, or, you know, this is just how they're asking to have it done. And if they refuse to do it that way, okay, I'm not going to get up and leave, obviously, back to our original point, right? Okay, well, then you sign with the way you're comfortable with. And then I will take it up with, you know, title, you know, I'm not going to argue with them, but this is the way the lender's asking you to sign. If they refuse to sign it that way, I mean, I'm not going to get up and leave. I'm not going to say, well, we can't sign then. Just, okay, well, then you sign how you're comfortable, but they may just know that they may ask you to re-sign everything again.
And I also went through that with people from India, because the way because typically when the people from India sign, they don't use their last name.
They don't, and they use like their first initial, and then like they sign it a certain way.
And it looks real Art Deco and all of that.
That's right. And it's like up with the line and the this. I don't either. I don't, whatever, however they, and like it goes back to, Griff, what you were saying about culture, right? Too, like that's the way that they sign. That is their signature. I mean, it happens all the time. And, you know, their names are long, but they don't sign their full names that way. So being knowledgeable about that is important too. You know, it's good to know.
I just got out of the signing net where this happened. So the guy's name was whatever, something Junior, and he had a scribble. I said, does that include your whole name with Junior? He said, yep. I'm like, okay, perfect. And it matched his ID. The signature matched the ID. So, I mean, if that's his signature, it matches the ID. There shouldn't be any issue with anybody. I mean, I understand where people get bent out of shape. If you have perfect calligraphy and you're signing that way, yeah, then you better make sure that all those letters are in there, you know. But if you can't, if it's not legible, then hey, that's awesome. So, as long as they say that's their whole signature, you know. If they say, oh, that's just my first name, oh, well, that you need to put your last name in there then, you know, something, you know. So
now, what other questions you got, Jasmine? Oh, go ahead on Christina, then we go back to Jasmine.
Thank you. I just wanted to add one thing. I also do this if I get like an irate borrower and they're just really adamant about signing how they want. I'll simply ask them, what's your flexibility in case we need to re-sign?
Right.
I take care of that. So here, the problem's already, I have the answer. So when I go back to the hiring agent, I can say, if they say, oh, no, we need you to go back and fix the signature. Okay, this is what time they're available. I'm flexible for them. Problem solved. And then we just head back out. But, you know, if, you know, some of them, yeah, they're a little bit adamant. They want to do it their way, irregardless if it's going to hold up their funding.
Right.
So you can always just see what their flexibility is looking like and advise them that by signing that way, there's a possibility I'll be coming back out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else you got, Jasmine?
Yeah, so the number one reason I brought that up was because as of late, when it comes to reviewing documents and making sure everything.
Hold on for a sec. You're a little garbled there.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit better. Well, try again.
Jump back on again.
She's
all right.
Bad zone.
So now, too, while we're waiting for her to reconnect, let's talk about names and signatures. And so let's say their driver's license is has just their first and last name, but the documents have their first name, middle initial, last name. Now, this is where I get like, and back before Michelle had commented about signature, the signature name affidavit, right? Like you can't be a point and sign notary and just say, you know, what are you having them sign off on if you're not explaining the document? So if their driver's license says John Doe and the documents are John Edward Doe or John E. Doe, but their driver's license says John Doe, the signature name affidavit has just John Doe. Well, would you put, would you put in there John E. Doe and have them sign off on it. Like those are things that signing agents should know. Like they should know that to always refer to the signature name affidavit too. If there's an off in, like you were saying before, the junior, the W, always look at the signature name affidavit and make sure that that variation of that name is on there.
So now the question then becomes, and this is where we have to start trying to find a way to have some consistency in training so that these things are addressed. Because
agree. I 100% agree. Yeah.
You know, so on one aspect, I believe that, and I guess again, I'm an IT guy, so looking at it from technology as well as when I was in the military. Okay, if the title company has these documents, the title company is the number one person who knows what these documents are, along with the lender. I don't understand why we haven't had anybody, and I haven't seen anybody, maybe y'all know, where the title company has a video that explains to their customer what these documents are, where they are taking time out, the title company and the lender, because remember, they're going into contract with that signer. So I, the lender, Griffin Lending, going into contract with Jeff. Is it too far-fetched to say that I can take the time out and have an assistant who understands these documents to sit there and explain the lender side of the document in a video for their client so that they can go in there and look at it? So if it's a VA loan, so how you doing? I'm Earl. I work for Griffin Lending, and I want to help you to understand the documents that you're going to be seeing. So this here document is such and such, and here are the key things that you need to be aware of. This document is your survey affidavit, and on here you may see this area, and this area will be left blank, and we will fill this out when we get the document back. This is where your signature normally will be. On this document is such and such, and we typically don't have your name on the signature line, but you will be signing here, and your spouse or other signer will be signing there. That's the kind of stuff that we dealt with when I was in the military, where, okay, if we want you to know what to do, let's put some kind of training together from our perspective and not leave it on this other entity that's randomly being selected to come in. And now you want this person to be pulled in and say, okay, now make sure that what we would want done gets done, because we all know the process. The lender sends out the notification, hey, look, it's time to close. The title gets it, roger that, we'll close. The signing company gets it and sends it out. Jeff picks it up to close 2 weeks from now on a Thursday at 2:00. From the time that he gets the order till the time he gets the documents, there's no communication. The notary is not presented with any documents for them to review and look over ahead of time. Keep in mind, Jeff might be a brand new notary, and then you get the documents last minute. I don't know what really, I guess I've taken training, but I don't know what of my training has prepared me for what I'm about to see, especially since this is coming from Connecticut or Washington, D.C. So how am I getting prepared over the next 2 weeks for something that I have not seen? And then I'm expected to articulate or go over or explain.
Oh, did he freeze?
I think so.
Yeah. Oh.
So while he's frozen, is he saying training or going over what? Like going over the documents with the borrower, or a training for the notaries?
I think when you get a loan that you're going over the documents you've never seen from another state with the borrower.
As the notary.
The notary would be going over they haven't seen those. They've been trained in their state or whatever, but they haven't seen documents.
The core, like the critical documents though, are like the
they
main
don't change.
Like did we lose him?
Yeah, he's probably gonna log back in.
So the critical documents should be the, are the staple documents, right? Like the state ones are like that one from California. What is the name of that one document that's from California?
Which one?
I don't know.
I was thinking,
There's like 100.
California, like in Texas, there's the mineral rights document, right? Like, I think with those, if you just read it, you can, if you can read it, you can kind of explain if you just take time to read it. But I think I don't know I think what he was getting at was like the signature name affidavit, if filling it out correctly, like that should be taught in training. Like those are important things that should be taught in training, right? Did you take it that way too? Like,
I got a little confused because I thought he was saying like, is someone going over the documents with the borrower? But as a newer notary loan signing agent, I'm going into my second commission. So as a newer one, I think if you just know your job, I think no matter when you get the documents, as long as you know how to notarize and ask questions and read what's in bold, and it usually gives you a summary on every single document.
Right.
So the signature name affidavit.
The first paragraph, right?
Yeah,
of each
it is.
document
It's the
usually
first paragraph. That's
Right.
because like all the documents are the same, but they just different. They look a little different and they vary by lender, but pretty much they're all the same. They're all the same.
Yeah, it's repetition.
State specified ones, like the mineral rights and the California, the piece. Is it the P? What is
the P Corps? Yeah.
Yes.
Preliminary change of ownership.
Yes. But those,
every now and then you'll get like a weird document you haven't seen before, but after a while, repetition, it's easy to navigate. You just need to know how to be a notary public first.
Right. First and foremost.
Right.
You need to know your notary laws. I always say that first and foremost, you need to know your notary laws. But going back to like the signature name affidavit, I think that like if there's a discrepancy between what's on the documents and what's on the driver's license, right? In whether there's middle initial, middle name, middle whatever, always look on the signature name affidavit too. And if what's listed, not listed on what's on the driver's license, then you just need to put that in there and just have them sign. I've done it a few, different ways. Like, have I added it? Yes. Have I not added it? Yes.
But what you're saying is state specific because you can't do that in California.
Right.
Oh, you cannot.
If the ID says, has their, if the ID has more than the document, no problem. If it has less, then there's a problem. So if the document
has John E. Doe, but the documents are John Edward Doe, and on the signature name affidavit, it has John Doe, John Edward Doe, but does not have John E. Doe. You cannot write John E. Doe? No, huh? Okay.
I mean, you can't. So as a notary, it has to have, their ID has to have more than
what would you do in that instance then? Would you just have them sign their names on the signature name affidavit and go on? What would you do?
Well, it would have to be, the documents would have to be corrected because if the ID does not has less than the document, then they have to make the document at least match their ID. So we're talking about the same person here.
So ID is if the ID has less than the document.
If the ID has less than the document, yes. So if it has more, no problem. So if you said what John Edward or whatever, if it says John E on the document, there's no problem. I had that today that they had their whole name on the document, including the junior. And where it comes a problem is where you have senior and junior,
right?
Because people are like, well, my dad died, so I took the junior off. Well, okay, now we have a problem.
He's back.
All right. I was like, oh my goodness.
We're like, no.
All right. So I was listening to y'all through my phone. So the point that I was trying to make is that I think we need to have more of a collaborative effort from the lender, the title, and the notary understanding what needs to go down. So because you were saying, Christina, that if you're a new notary, focus on just making sure that the documents get signed, initial, dated, and you do proper notarizations.
Yes.
So
And making phone calls.
and
In the
making phone
beginning, when
calls.
you're new, with the signature
Right.
name affidavit, we're all seasoned at this point. So a new notary, it's going to be a bit intimidating trying to process everything, present in front of everyone. Make a phone call. Hey, here's what the license says. Here's what the paperwork says. How do I
Right.
proceed?
Correct.
Email, text, call. That's what I would do in the beginning. That's what I did.
Right. So, and this is where because when we understand what we need to get done, we need to first get the documents signed, dated, initialed. That's the core of what we're there to do. Because without doing that and notarizing properly, you wouldn't have me there. So even if I do know the documents, and there are notaries that I personally know, they are excellent at articulating or going through the documents, giving a summary, but they are not great at doing proper notarization because for some reason or another, they just can't comprehend that aspect and they make mistakes. And I know that some people will think, well, if you can articulate stuff about the documents, you should be able to do the notarizations. And what I'm finding is that some people have put more emphasis in their own mind. This is my time to shine, to show people that I know something, because we know there's human beings that's like that. This lets me shine. And what I've heard trainers say when I first got in, if you can articulate the documents, that'll tell them that they should hire you more, because you're coming in and you're stepping in like you're an escrow officer or a title officer. And I'm like, but I started my business to be a notary, not to be a business owner, and then go to the title people saying, I can do your W-2 job. Which one are you trying to be? So that's the perspective that I'm coming from. I'm not saying that we should not have an understanding of the document, but if you look at the way people are trained when they're coming into this business, they're mostly trained how to get business, to market, the Canva, and all of that, and to share things about the document. But as we know, many of the trainers out there say, I don't teach proper notarization. I don't teach you notarization. You got to figure that out on your own. But we see that human beings can be lazy and go with the path of least resistance. And they have in their mind the shiny thing, as Christina said, of the $10,000 a month. And that's why I always say how we market the business determines how people come in the business. So if it was marketed to them to make that quick money, by the time they hit Constance with the signing company title, and then Christina with the lender, that person, only thing on their mind is, I just want to get paid. And those are the worst people to work with. Think about your mechanic. You go to a repair shop and all they're concerned about is how to get paid. Right. But they can't turn a wrench. They can't change the order. They just find ways to try to get more money out of you. It's like, come on now, can you fix the car? Right. Come on now, can you just notarize the document? And this is what I personally have seen. Notaries don't want to go back and fix the notarizations because they don't know how. Because maybe I'm missing it. I know y'all could go and ask Earl Jones, hey, Earl, when the notary was there, when Griff was there, did he articulate, did he explain, did he cover, did he give you a summary of the documents as you went through them? You could, but you're busy and you don't have time. Because see, at the same time, if Earl signed all the documents and they're all notarized properly, you would assume that everything was done right. In my opinion, you would be like, okay, well, everything, because Earl apparently signed everything. He didn't have any questions. Nobody called. The documents are notarized properly. So why do I need to ask the signer, did he get certain things explained to him, because he signed it? that's the thing, because, and I'm like, but the notary don't know how to, y'all don't go back and tell us at the end of the closing, y'all don't say, hey, Griff, we called the signer and they said the 4506C, you really didn't explain that the way we think you should have. Can you go back and do that again? Y'all don't do that. Nobody does that. You didn't go over the CD the way we think you should have. I know they signed it, everything's been funded, but we need you to go back. That doesn't happen. What gets us in trouble mostly is when we don't do proper notarizations, when we miss signatures, when we miss stamps, when we miss dates, when we miss initials. And that's that's why I harp on that so much, because this is what I believe. If I can help notaries mitigate that issue, then it will make it easier for them to be free and clear in their mind and in their heart to learn the other aspects that Constance is sharing. But when you don't know how to notarize, you can explain, but guarantee this much. If Constance had to choose between which one she wanted somebody to do, get the thing properly notarized so it can get recorded, or be an articulator of the document, and these are just my words, I'm just, I just throw that kind. Yes, the perfect world will be both, but which one gets the thing funded? And that's what we're commissioned to do. So I'm like, let's get the commission, do what we're commissioned to do first, and then grow into the other aspect of it. Yeah. But a lot of people are trying to get us to be the document articulators, and they're not giving us the foundation to do the proper thing of our commission. And then when y'all say, hey, can you please go back and get this stamp? Can you please go back and have them sign this, or you filled it out wrong, you put the wrong names in the wrong spot? They call me and they're like, Griff, what do I do? I don't know.
So I think I understand what you're saying. So when you're saying they're not notarizing properly, are you saying filling out the acknowledgement or the juret? Is that what you're, okay. See, and there are different variations of that on the 10th day of the July, or correct. On by, it should be, you should just read the whole thing through. Right. And so that it goes back to, and what Christina was saying before, that you are a notary first and foremost in this, right? And I think that a lot of people, a lot of notaries, which is fine, which is totally fine, became notaries to do this job.
Right.
Right. But then you have your who were notaries first and then came into the job. Right. So yes, you should absolutely 100%, before you even start doing loan documents, you need to know how to fill out an acknowledgement 100%. You should be very well versed in notary
law.
Yeah. Before you have to know your, yeah, you have
but the thing is, but when you think about how the business is marketed, and what people are exposed to,
that's right.
That aspect is not.
Those are the people that are coming on, becoming a notary just to do this job, to make six-figure, to make that. Yes, that they're becoming a notary to do that, and they're missing that important step of proper notarization.
And a lot of people have told me, well, why would you become a notary and not know how to notarize documents properly? Well, there are a lot of people who, my wife is a cosmetology instructor. There are a lot of people out there that went to school and never got their license, never went to state board, but they're still trying to do hair. They never properly learned how to do color. That's why women end up with their hair mixing stuff in and getting it over processed, because the person never learned it, because what they saw was, if I do color, I can make money. But they've never learned the color theory of how to put the stuff on the hair, and knowing that these things. And to me, and my wife, if she would tell you, there are a lot of similarities between the notary business and the cosmetology, for as coming in, making quick money, and not actually learning how to do the skill of a cosmetologist or a notary. And that's the part that I'm trying to bring in. And I understand that I would say maybe off the top of my head, would say 80% of the notary trainers out there, those TMCs, from the times of conversations I've had with some of them, it's, well, I'm not here to help you to understand how to be a notary. I'm helping you to be a notary signing agent so you can make money that way and to be a notary signing agent business owner. I said, but if they don't know how to properly notarize, how long do you think they're going to be a notary business owner? Because if they can't do the job of a notary, who would call them to do the work of the notary aspect of what you're saying if they don't know how to do it? And they say, well, they should have figured that out before getting to me. And I'm like, but y'all aren't talking about that. You're in your TikToks with money phones talking about how much money you're making in 15 minutes, but you're not educating them on the importance of what we're supposed to do. But then you're getting angry with them when they jack it up and they cause you to have to pop on your E&O insurance to cover your liability back to your title company. I'm like, if we see this as the problem, what is the solution outside of getting more Canva and Google My Business training?
Well, I don't know. Did you, I mean, last Friday and I got on a live because of the whole, like, I don't know if you saw my last TikTok that I posted about notary, like trainers, notaries turned trainer, mentor, trainers, whatever. I'd have to like stop putting out like the information. Like you need to give correct information to train these notaries right, because what's happening is you're giving them all this false hope and false information just to money grab their do training, but you're not giving them everything that they need. And what's happening is they're producing notaries that you're setting them up for failure. And that's not either. If someone's paying for your training, you should be training them 100% right, not holding back because you're looking at them as competition, or you're looking at them as, I'm not going to give them everything. I'm going to over tell them what more than what I really charge. So this way they can't undercut. Like, no, if someone's paying for your training, you need to give them 100% facts. And that's annoying to me because I've talked to many people, many trainers, many students, many signing services, a lot. And it's just, they're just not getting it's just not, they're not getting what they really need. And you're setting them up for failure. No,
you're right. You're 100% right. And what, that's why I'm saying what I'm keep seeing is that it's like everybody's expecting the notaries to be AJ squared away.
Right. I mean, but to think about it though, like the acknowledgments, it's kind of, as a notary, yes, you should absolutely 100% understand and know the acknowledgments. But again, it's reading, like, because the layout of them are on this blank day of blank blank. So obviously on this 18th day of July 2025, before me, the notary, appeared the signers. Like those are the things that you kind of should, but you're right. Like they kind of should know that, how to fill out an acknowledgement, but you're saying is that you're just not. I mean, maybe they need to put in, I know in New Jersey up until recently, they didn't even have any training. You didn't have to do any training for that.
I was going to ask that. How many, so I'm in California, there's training, but how many states really require training? It's not a lot of states.
New Jersey, this is, I mean, Christina, you won't have to do, you're on your first renewal, right? You said, is that right?
I didn't have to do any training in 2020.
Now you'd have to do training if you're new, but you're grandfathered in. So if new notary came into New Jersey, they would have to do the set hours, which I don't understand why it's that way, because as a New Jersey title office, I need to do continuing eds every renewal. for my license. Being a notary is not a license, it's a commission, but
Right.
I think it's important. I mean, states should have training for that, and they should know it in order to pass the test. But I mean, that's
And
something, I mean, that's something too that, I mean,
But if you're a professional and you're taking it seriously, you
Mhm.
should want to get the training. When I came in 2020,
right.
I'm a chief financial officer, and I
Mhm.
retired once I became a notary. But it was the same work ethic, though. Everyone was telling me you do not need to know the documents. You just need to know how to notarize. You don't even need to do training. I went to the NNA and took training plus
Mhm.
other training because this is important. You're dealing with people's livelihood here.
Right.
You can't just go out there and wing it. So you have to care enough to want more information
Right.
and
And
take it
that's
upon
what,
yourself to get trained.
and that's exactly what I did. So I remember my first commercial closing, right? I was in it maybe, I mean, I was doing it for, well, I don't know how long. I don't really know. But I remember getting my first commercial acknowledgement. Like it was worded where I had to sit there and read it like I by so and so who is so and so of so and so, right? So it would be by John Doe, who is the managing member of ABC LLC, right? So they to fill it out as a commercial. Like I had to stop and think about that, but to read it. And I did ask, honestly, I did ask title because I was like, I'm not really sure how this acknowledgement, we're going way back, how they want this acknowledgement filled out because I'm not really sure. And she's like, oh, it's easy. So that I didn't know. Because that's a little tricky with a commercial, but
you asked the question.
that's
That's
right.
the key.
Right.
That's
Mhm.
the key of asking the question. That's it. That's the key of
So
asking. The key is ask. When in doubt, always ask. And I don't
That's it.
know anyone, like I can't even believe someone would say, don't ask questions. Asking questions is key to learning.
So
Mhm.
let
You
me
don't
share
know,
something
you
real
don't
quick,
learn.
then we're gonna go to Jasmine. Hold on one second. Let me share something real quick for y'all because now y'all know I got all kind of videos out here. I got videos where I go over the loan, over this stuff. I even did a video about a month or two ago showing how to use AI to get an understanding of the document. So if you're having a hard time understanding what the NNA script is, and the NNA script is only for refis. So
That's
if
true.
you,
That is
it's
right.
only for refis.
100%.
So you're already at a not trying to throw shade on the NNA, but you're sort of at a disadvantage because if your first closing is a HELOC or a loan modification, you literally can use AI and say, hey, on a loan modification, there's this document that says such and such. What is this? Give me a one paragraph explanation of this document. And I showed that in the daggone thing, how to do that. And you just type it in and it will come back and tell you, okay, boom. People aren't doing that kind of stuff. So let me share this with y'all real quick for the people to go to what Constance was saying. Let me pull this up real quick
Mhm.
and everything. So I'm going to share the screen, and this here is where is it? There it is. I'm adding it to the stage. So this here is a notarial certificate. One of my favorite companies that used to kick my butt in the beginning, Boston National Title. And the reason why I don't like their notarial certificates because you can have 10 or 15 of them completely empty like this, and you got to fill out every daggone thing. And if you get this at the last minute, they send you the last minute. And I'm not talking about you get assigned last minute, I'm talking about you get the documents last minute. And you got 13 of these,
Takes a
and you're
long
dealing
time
with
to fill it,
some customers that are like, I need to hurry up and go. You need to fill all of this out for
yeah.
each and every one. So one of the trainings I did it online here, and I showed the people, here's what the document looks like. Blank. They signed here. They date, they sign. So you say, well, how do I fill this out? And then I said, here's the example of what it should look like when it's completely filled out. Here's the date. Here's the person's signature. Here's the county, the state and the county. Here's the date that it was done. Here's their printed name. It was done by who? The person who signed the document. And let me just articulate this a little bit better for y'all, just so y'all can understand. Because again, if you use Chat GTP or any of them, it will tell you what these things mean. So it says the foregoing instrument was acknowledged before me on. Now, this is a breakdown of it. The foregoing instrument, meaning the instrument is another word for document in the mortgage world. So the foregoing, meaning the previous document, the thing that is before this section was acknowledged before me. And look at before as in front of me.
Mhm.
So it was acknowledged, meaning the person who signed this is acknowledging that they agreed to the terms and conditions of everything that is above their signature. What notaries are thinking is, oh, this is an acknowledgement, so I'm acknowledging it. So the foregoing instrument was acknowledged before me, the notary, on this date by who? Me, the notary. No,
Mhm.
it was acknowledged. And if you was to just put in the Chat GTP this statement and say, please explain this document for me in a that's in a notarial certificate, it will break it down for you. So the foregoing, what is foregoing? Meaning the thing before. Instrument, what does the word instrument mean with in relationship to mortgages? Document, a legal document. So the foregoing legal document or instrument was acknowledged, meaning the person who is sitting before me signed it in front of me on this date, and they was so and so and so and so. That's how this reads. And this is where I'm saying with the reading comprehension that if a person is struggling with reading and understanding this, when they get thrown in to say, okay, now I want you to give them a summary of this document for the person to understand, for some people, it's kicking their butts. It is really hurting them because if they don't understand the words, because some of the words say what at the beginning, it says the foregoing is the undersigned borrower, and they don't understand what the word undersigned means. The word undersigned means the person who's signing the document. Simple Google look up what does the word undersigned mean in a document. The word undersigned mean the person who's signing the document. And there's always pretty much in our stuff two undersigns. First undersign is the signer of the document. Well, we'll say three. The undersigned borrower or the person who we're meeting with, the undersigned lender, because sometimes it will say the undersigned lender, and then the undersigned authority, which is us, the notary who notarizes it. So you will sometimes see in there the undersigned notary or the undersigned public official or official that's talking about us for the section here. And that's the person who signs it at the end. If a person took a little time out to educate themselves on what's the meaning of these words and these phrases, I guarantee you'll have a better understanding of what this is, and it will help you in doing it. Because that's what I did. I there was nobody talking like I'm talking on the internet. They were just saying, "Hey, go market and go to a networking event and go to a meetup and get more business." But I'm like, "But what the heck does foregoing instrument means? What do you mean acknowledge? What do you mean before me? I don't know what that means." And I started searching it to get the answer.
See too, and it also goes like if you read it through. So if you were to read it through, like take section by section on this deck, can you pull that back up?
Oh, and just real quick, and this one here says, on such and such date, before me, your name, the undersigned officer, and people forget, what do you mean undersigned officer?
Undersigned would be the person signed, yeah.
Right.
Personally appeared. Okay,
Right.
so on the other one, it is the right. Okay, so the foregoing instrument was acknowledged before me on, right? So before me, obviously you're the notary because you're before me, but the acknowledgement, it's an acknowledgement, right? But then, okay, I can see where people could get confused on that, but what should be the click should be before me by, like you're saying, okay, some notaries will say by me, but who is, can you make that a little smaller for a second, please? Can you? Yeah. Okay. Who is personally known or has produced a driver's license? Like to me, I go, maybe it's just me. That should be like, oh, they're asking because the person who's producing a driver's license or has produced or personally known to me, it's got to be
the one who signed it.
Right.
Correct. And this is the deductive reasoning and logic
right.
that a lot of people are not using. I'm not saying they don't have it.
Right.
They
I guess
don't
they're just getting so frazzled and nervous that they're not thinking it through. I can
So
see
while
that.
so while they're trying to figure out all of this stuff and trying to understand this so they can summarize it, they're not being taught this aspect. And what I personally have seen, the notaries that I've worked with, when I've taught them this to help them understand this aspect, everything else flows, because whether you're in a situation, whether you need to articulate something about the document or not, you have full confidence that you know how to do your notarization. And when a person has full confidence in how to do their job, there ain't nothing they can't do.
Right.
And that's all I've been echoing over and over. So that's why I challenge people when they say, well, know the documents. I'm like, okay, what do they need to know about the documents? Mm-hmm. Because most time when people share that, they're talking about they need to know this stuff. They need to know this stuff here. They want them to know and be able to explain this and to summarize this part up here, but they don't know what to do down here in the notarial part. And I'm like, and I've always said, as long as you know how to do your part down here, I personally do not care what you put yourself out there. But again, we got certain state laws that restrict us from being able to do that aspect because it could be deemed as the unauthorized practice of law.
Right.
And my caveat would be, and I think it would be the responsible thing, that anybody who's going to teach a person how to articulate what the owner's affidavit and indemnity agreement is, they need to understand what that other state's requirements are, because that trumps everything. The state requirement that says in Virginia, we are not to even help you to understand a document or a transaction that requires notarization. So how can I not allow that to trump what anybody else tells me? So that's so just so y'all know, that's why I harp on this so much, because I know my state law has told me I cannot do this unless I've been properly trained in that industry. So the question then becomes, what makes a TMC's training on these documents qualified to be considered proper training for Virginia notaries to be able to say something within that industry? Is their training an industry standard? The answer more than likely is no. So taking it for face value as what the law says, that's why I'm so adamant about, if you were going to train, we need to make sure that our training encompasses all 50 states restrictions, so that that notary is not crossing that line and playing with fire. Because it's like, because what I say is not the unauthorized practice of law may not be the same for another state. And I think that that's where we need to start working at, which is why before my power cut off, I was saying I feel that the notary the title companies and the lenders should take ownership of their documents to put out there the proper information to give to their clients, because they are in the position to better explain a document that they're creating rather than a notary who's randomly getting assigned it at the last minute and just getting the documents and is doing their first or second closing. And now you want me to be able to do that aspect, and I'm still struggling with the notary part.
Yeah.
What you got, Jasmine?
When it comes to the notary part and it comes to the certificates, being a scheduler, I have seen an abundance of mistakes come in on a daily basis, whether it be the venue being incorrect, the dates being incorrect. I have seen up to the point where the signer's name is even spelled incorrectly. And it's just like, wow, you know, like how are we missing these simple things? Not just that, the most important piece is to make sure we have all that complete, along with having our stamp and seal in there correctly. And we have the seal not completely, you know, intact and missing areas and not inked correctly. And it's just, it causes so many issues. And then we have to call them to have them go back. And instead of them being, you know, willing to be helpful because it's a mistake they made on their end, you get an angry notary coming at the scheduler saying, well, why am I going to go back and do this? You know, but it's just like if you as a notary took care of it correctly the first time and made sure you followed through and from A to Z, whether it be venue, whether it be signer's name, dates, you know, all of that was filled out correctly, we wouldn't have to go back. We wouldn't have these issues. So you can tell just by the number of mistakes that I see on a day-to-day basis, how many notaries are out there that just don't understand how to complete a certificate properly.
That is correct. And that's why I did the videos that I've done concerning those things, but a lot of notaries don't look at them.
Or they might not. They might think that it's too generic, or they're not looking for that information.
Correct.
If that makes sense. You know.
No, it does. It makes perfect sense. Now, here's what I've recently found out. Basically, they told me this without directly saying it. They said I need to learn these loan signing certificates. And I asked the question, I said, so what, you think there's a different certificate for loan closings versus general notary? I said, they're the same thing. I said, what you see in a general notary will or power of attorney, that same certificate can be seen in a loan closing. I said, and they're like, oh, for real? I said, yeah. So I had learned that some people actually think that there are two different types of notarial certificates: general notary certificates and loan closing notarial certificates. And they're thinking that there's a difference. So once so these are the people who have graduated from, oh, I now know how to articulate a summary of the documents. I'm good with that. Now I need to learn how to fill out a loan closing notarial certificate. I said, there's no difference than your basic notarial certificate. I said, is the formatting a little quirky here or there? Yes, but it's the same thing. It's the same elements: state of, county of, the statement, your signature, and everything else that your state says is supposed to be in there. Oh, well, do I sign my name? I'm like, yes. Why do you think you don't sign? Well, it doesn't say signature. It just says notary public. Well, do I stamp it? Yes. What does your state law says? Well, I know the state law says I'm supposed to stamp it, but the paper doesn't say stamp here, so I didn't put my stamp. And I've had notaries argue title companies down, saying I don't need to stamp, and if you wanted me to stamp, you should have said something. And I'm like, oh my goodness. This is what's going on. So as much as we want people to use common sense and say, okay, we're just going to graduate y'all into the next level, they have not gotten on the ground floor of the basic stuff. And I'm concerned that some of the organizations are more concerned about above the signer signature aspect rather than below and saying, hey, you know, y'all figure that out, but don't ask us to help you with that. But that's what y'all having a problem with the most, because that's the thing that's going to keep it from getting recorded. So I'm like, if that's going to keep it from getting recorded, why not make sure that that is taught instead of hoping they catch it? Because you know that phrase, some things are taught, some things are caught. And in this case, the notarial certificate issue is not being caught. What else you got, Jasmine, as the scheduler of the year?
Thank you, Griff. There's just a lot, when it comes to the documents getting completed correctly. I'm sure you guys know about the notice of right to cancel.
Mm-hmm.
That is almost always wrong. So if the date isn't pre-filled out for the date the individual is signing, almost every single time we have to send the notary back to get that fixed because they don't understand that the rescission period changes if the date on the notice of right to cancel is something other than the day you guys are signing. For some reason, they just don't understand that. And whatever change you make on there, whether it's the day you're signing and the rescission date, you have to have them initial to go ahead and acknowledge the change that was made as well. But notaries just continue to miss that as well on a day-to-day basis.
Wait, I don't know what you. So, are you saying if the signer dates it incorrectly, or
So,
if the actual rescission date is not filled out, and that they have to fill out the rescission date?
So there's instances where a signing was supposed to happen, say it was supposed to happen yesterday, July 17th, but whatever the scenario was, they weren't able to meet yesterday. Now they're meeting today, July 18th. So the date on the notice of right to cancel is going to show July 17th still, but that's going to change the rescission period because you're no longer signing on the 17th, you're signing on the 18th. So in that scenario, the signer is going to have to go ahead and change that July 17th to go ahead and reflect the July 18th, which is going to now change their rescission period also. So you have to change that as well.
All right. She said, "You said 1 hour, Nana."
You're on 2 hours.
Yeah. I'm sorry. But now, Christina, would that not be on the lender to redraft the documents with the correct date?
It varies by lender. Some lenders, yeah,
Okay.
they'll let them strike through an initial,
Right,
the
right.
bar.
Right.
But again, it goes back to making the phone call and find out what you're
Right.
supposed to do. It's always
Right.
going to be pick up the phone, make the phone call. Know how to be a notary. That's it. It's always
Right.
going to be those two.
And I think that that's what it is. I guess, I know in my training, I always say, know your state laws first. You're a
Mhm.
notary first and foremost. You need to know your state laws. And I guess, Griff, your point is very, very, very valid about that not going through. We just, I guess, assume that people, which we all know what the word assume means, but like that people are knowing their state laws and how to be a notary first and foremost.
But
And
it's not.
that's
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. It's a really valid point because, and I guess it goes back to also too what I was saying, that there's a lot of notaries that become notaries to do this job. And that's the difference between becoming a notary to do this job or already being a notary and then doing this job. Right. So they're
Yeah.
missing that important step of yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
I know you're
It's right
talking
here.
about.
Go for it, Jeff.
Well, I was just gonna say, I know you're talking about knowing your state laws. I don't assume that any notary knows their state laws. I mean, I sent a client to go to a notary to get a document notarized, and I said, take a picture and send it to me before you mail it to me. They sent me the picture, and the notary actually put, like we were talking about the acknowledgement, they filled it out and they put their name. So the notary is essentially saying, I'm acknowledging my own signature. I'm doing it, all that. And I'm like, no, this is wrong. So I actually had to send her the manual for the state. I think it was Indiana. I emailed her the manual, and I actually had to email her an acknowledgement or something. I think she was the first go around. She was just using it was going out of the country, so they just used whatever language was on there. I said, no, that does not gonna work. So you have to use your state language. So this is the issue, is people are just, they're not reading, like you said. Okay, so if they read it and they knew that I can't use that language in my state, I'm gonna replace it. She didn't even know what a loose certificate was. I mean, I had to explain it to the notary on there.
Right.
So it's not just, I mean, you're talking primarily in the real estate world, and the real estate world, pretty much everything's laid out. You know where a notarization is, it's going to be there and whatever. And most of the time you have to just know how to fill in the date and a few, your name and the borrower's name. But if you're dealing with other notaries that are doing the general notary stuff like I'm doing, it's a lot harder. So, and it comes down to being, knowing your state laws, knowing how to fill those things out, and just being proactive in learning those, how to do the job. I mean, being a notary, and that's,
Right.
I've been thinking about, maybe I should do a class on just doing this basic thing,
I
charge
think
10
I'm going to
bucks or
throw that
something.
into my training. I think I'm going to throw a little section into my training, because
Yeah.
now that we're talking about it, there could very well be people out there like that just don't understand the whole filling out the acknowledgement and the wordage
They
and
don't.
the terminology of all that.
Well, that's
And
the
I-
whole purpose. That's what I've been sort of screaming and yelling at for the last 4 years. And
Yeah.
not saying this is you. What I'm about to say is I'm not saying this is you, Constance, but other trainers get upset with me because they're thinking that I'm saying notaries don't need training. I'm saying
We do.
we do need training, but what are
Mhm.
we being trained in? Because when you send if your son or daughter wants to be a biologist, you sending them to a particular school, and you make sure and you ensure that they're going to be trained properly toward being a biologist. You making sure that the undergraduate stuff will be what they need so that they can move into the graduate stuff. Because to go 4 years an undergrad and then you go to be a grad and they say, oh, like 80% of what you just took, nah, those are the wrong courses. You will have a fit. So my thought process is, if we know what the problem is, then what are we doing to fix the problem? And what I constantly keep seeing is more and more notaries out there, these other people that's not Constant and Belinda Bennett, they're hammering down and double downing on Google algorithms, Canva classes, all of the marketing, how to meet up, getting your logo, all of that stuff. And they're tripling down on that. And the notaries still don't know how to do the job, and they're getting blacklisted.
Mhm.
And now they got all this equipment, because when the lender tells the title and the signing, do not use Griff. Why? What? Because he made this mistake. It's never, unless he goes egregious and does something stupid, it's never because Griff explains something wrong. It's you didn't do your job.
Right.
And this is one of the things that I'm trying to get notaries to understand, is because when I first got out of the Navy, I got fired for not doing my job. My job was simple. I was a file clerk. My job was to get papers that came from the paralegals and stick it in a folder, and then put that folder alphabetically where it belonged. I was so busy being called and, hey, can you help me here? Can you help me here? And I was helping everybody else file stuff and put their stuff up and organize their stuff. And the owner of the law firm came down while I was at lunch looking for a piece of paper, one piece of paper, a pink piece of paper. That's all I remember. And he said, it's not where it's supposed to be. Why is it here? Because you had this 3 days ago, and by now it should have been up there in that thing for me to get. I was fired the next week. And I asked him, and I talked to the guy, and I said, John, I said, what's going on? He said, you didn't do your job. I said, but I was helping so-and-so in this. He said, and he just leaned in like this, you wasn't doing your job. I said, got it. So my attitude is, once I understand what my job is, that's what I'm going to do first. Get solid in that before I go expanding into other things. Because when you go to work, people, They fire you because you tried to get there on time, not because you got there on time. They fire you because you tried to get the reports done on time, not because you got them there on time. So why do we get rid of notaries if I'm a signing company or a lender or a title? Because they tried to do the notarizations right and they failed, and they won't go back and try to get it fixed. So you try to, I don't get rid, I make you preferred because you did what you're supposed to do.
Mhm.
I prefer people who are doing what they're supposed to do, but you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and you want me to make you preferred. So when you really get down to, so it's like, how do we fix this? And I think it's a simple fix from the trainer standpoint of, let me quiz you. So one of the training things that I do is, if I'm working with notaries, I have a whole bunch of notarial certificates of various formats from various states. It's about 30 of them. And I said, fill out the notarial certificate. I said, that's all I need you to do. The name, the signature is already there. I already put it there. Fill out the notarial certificate based off of the signature that's up there. I had 30 people do that. Only 3 got all of them correct.
Wow.
Vast majority of the people, you know what they was doing? They spent more time trying to read the document above the person's signature. And I said, okay, cool. I said, now that you read that, what in that part is helping you to fill out the notarial certificate correctly?
Nothing.
So I said, so just do it. And that's where, and they like, So just so y'all understand, that's why I harp on that so much. Not because I'm trying to be difficult, not because I don't believe other aspects of training is valid. I just know that if we don't do our part right, what we are commissioned and swore an oath to do, ain't nobody getting paid.
Mhm.
And I want the money that I'm supposed to be due. Because I don't think there's, and I'm gonna say this and shut up. I don't think there's, I've never seen in 7 years in any set of instructions where it talks about me getting a reduction in fee linked to me not explaining the documents. I've never seen that said, if you don't explain
You're right.
the documents and give a summary, we're going to reduce your fee.
You're right.
So I said, well, heck, if you're not going to reduce my fee for doing, and that means you're going to have to spend some time going back and articulating that, and then you're going to look funny as the signing company and lender. So did the notary explain? Look, they'd be like, hey, Brett, I signed the daggone documents. Why are you asking me about what was explained to me? I signed them. If I didn't understand something, if I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't have signed the documents. Why are you bothering me? Well, we just want to know if the notary did I sign them or not? So I said, well, if you're punishing me for these offenses, and none of them equating to what I'm saying about the document. So let me fix that so I don't get punished. Go for it, lady.
So on the other side of that too, and that what you're saying, such first and foremost, great points, valid points, and I agree with everything you're saying. But also too, though, I always say you can't build a high rise without a good foundation, right? You've got to have a good foundation. So when I say, and know your state laws, or we assume that notaries are knowing this stuff, which is not now, putting more thought into it. Your points are very valid. And so when I say about learning the loan documents, like knowing them, so a very common question on the closing disclosure, which, okay, so if on the closing disclosure, the lender requires you to pay 1 year of homeowner's insurance up front, right? And then there's also the escrows that has X amount of months in escrow for homeowner's insurance, X amount of months in escrow for taxes. So very common, very, very, very common question in most of the closings that I have, ask it. Well, why do I have to pay? If I already paid 1 year of homeowner's insurance up front, why do I have to pay this additional? And you would be surprised at how many notary signing agents don't know the answer to that question. And what happens is then it goes to the loan officer, then it goes to title. And it's like, then the loan officer gets upset with title because, or with whatever, what kind of signings, what kind of notaries are you sending to our signings that can't even explain this? Like they get perturbed.
But that's a loan
That's not
officer question.
Yeah,
That's
the
we're
loan
not in that
officer
lane. Yeah, exactly. If
I
you have a
wanted to
question
jump in
about
there.
that-
Yeah. And I've never been asked that.
You've
I've
never
never
been
been asked that. I've never been asked why is this, that, and the other. Because again, now you're getting into my state law aspect, and I'm gonna go to you real quick, Christine. My state law says it is not my job to make sure that that person understands. I'm supposed to be neutral, and I'm not supposed to have any influence into helping them to make a decision to do or to not to do. That's what I was taught when I started. So if you don't understand what you're about to sign, we have a problem, because what's one of the other aspects of a notary that nobody talks about? And I mean that nobody talks about.
impartial.
But the other aspect is we're supposed to make sure that you're doing this of your own free will.
Yep.
So at what point does it become I'm helping you to determine your will as to whether you do this, and move away from what Jeff just said, being impartial? Because I know there's a lot of nice to-dos. And as one person told me when I first got the guy, and I wish I could remember who it was, but he called, I never knew him, I never saw him in his face. He called me, he said, Griff, one of the things about this business I learned was that you can't be a bleeding heart notary. And I said, what do you mean? He said, you cannot save every single closing. You cannot save everything. He said, because he said, here's the reason why notaries try to save the closing, in his opinion, at that time. This is back in 2018. He said, because so many signing companies and title companies will not pay you the full fee if the closing don't happen, notaries do whatever they can to try to make it happen, not because that to really help them out, but to help themselves out in getting the full fee. So they don't want a print and trip fee. I want to make sure that this thing happens. That's why some notaries say, oh, well, don't worry. If you don't understand anything, you got the right to cancel. I was always told, don't use that as leverage to force them to sign. But some notaries are taught that, and some notaries do say, well, hey, you got the right to cancel. So if you don't understand it, you got 3 days to read over it. But what if something happens and in 3 days they forget? So now I'm liable because I told them, hey, stop trying to be concerned about it and get questions answered. Just sign it, and you got the right to cancel. Go to you, Christina.
The first thing is, once they start asking why, here we go. Pick up the phone again. We're not supposed to be answering the why. You do not hold the license. That's number one. You can't explain the documents because you legally cannot. That is why they tell us to stick to the notarizations. Yes, be knowledgeable of the document. So if it's printed on the document and you know where it's at, you can guide them and show them. But explaining why their escrow is the way it's set up, you don't know, you didn't structure the loan. It's safer to avoid trying to explain and summarize. If it's there, you should know where the information is pointed out. Now, that's the training I received back in 2020. So I'm not sure why so many notaries are having a tough time right now, because it seems like we all have received the training. So it's out there. Am I correct? Did we all
Well,
go through the training?
If you take the NNA background check training or whatever to get your background check, they go through all that stuff. They go through what you're talking about hey, what document has X, Y, and Z on it, and you have to go and pick, fill out the quiz to get that. So if they're not doing that, then
and they tell you you can point it out if it's on the document, but you don't need to go and say if they're why am I paying 15 months or whatever it is, right? 12 months for my hazard insurance. Now we're getting into sketchy territory. You shouldn't be trying to explain that. You don't know. You did not structure the deal, and it's gonna vary. So yeah, no, you don't do that.
So just so y'all can understand, one of the things that I would think probably in 2019 or early 2020, when I sat down and just thought about the whole process of how we get orders. we have and me and Christina talked about this. You got the lender and the loan officer. I mean, the real estate agent and the loan officer who generates that business for is buying, selling a house, or finding a contact to actually get somebody out here to buy, to refinance. This whole process before it comes to the notary, unless it's a streamline, can take 2 to 4 months from what I'm seeing. It could take 2 to 4 months getting the appraisal, getting the assessments, especially if it's a VA loan, getting all the underwriting together, making sure we know why you got this money, why you had the default on that, clarifying bankruptcy stuff, all of that. And then a random text message goes out to a random group of notaries, and I get it, and I get assigned it. And now my primary focus is supposed to be to make sure that after 4 months, John Jones, my job is to make sure that he's comfortable doing what he's been working with these other people on. I don't understand it. Maybe this is just where I'm just missing it. I don't understand why all of these people with all of this power and responsibility and authority would delegate all of that responsibility down to a random notary who they personally don't know, have not worked with, don't even know my name, don't even know what I look like, and say, hey, I just need you to make sure this happens. Okay, what do you mean by that? I want to make sure that you notarize, or do you want me to make sure that that person does not sign? You see what I'm saying? That's two different things. And I've been told that. They said, well, we just want you to make sure that they sign it. Okay, if they choose not to, then what happens? Well, they should not be I'm like, okay, see, now you're asking me to do something. I'm like, well, how come you haven't done your part? Because then I started thinking, and I wish I could remember who made me think this way. I said, well, what happens if we get to court? Because the judge and the lawyer is going to say, your role is this, your role is that, your role is that. Why did you do your part? Where's the proof? Did you do your part? Where's the proof? Did you do your part? Where's the proof? If the no, and see it every single time when I think about that, it flashes me all the way back to that conversation I was having with that guy John, where I said, well, why are you firing me? He said, you didn't do your job. And he said, your job was this. I said, but I'm helping. He said, your job was this, and you didn't do it. We're giving you 3 weeks severance. Bye. And I'm sitting here like, what in the world I done got myself into? So I'm all for doing everything that the trainers and that constant is saying to do, provided I have some assurances that protect me, meaning I want to know that your insurance is going to cover me. But if your insurance signing company, title company, lender is for your employees and I'm not an employee, I don't think your underwriter is going to write something to protect me. So it gets that deep for me because that's the reality of it, because we swore an oath to do things in accordance with our state law, not in accordance with the TMC or even what the NNA says or the American Notary Association group or anybody else. Because if we get pulled into court and I E&O it, because the E&O is like errors and omission. They're like, well, you should have known better. Don't you know? Well, I mean, I either lie and say I didn't know better, or I tell the truth. Well, yes, I knew better, but I paid for training and the training said to do it, so I did it. And that's why, if y'all ever heard me say, we execute what we spent the most money on. If you spend money, if you spent a bunch of money on your kid going to college, and I learned this from Bill Bellamy, because Bill Bellamy said when he was in college, he decided to be a comedian, and his parents was like, no, you're going to go back to school because we spent all this money. And I said, you know what? That's a true statement, because if you spend $100,000 on your kid going to college, you want them to at least put forth effort to execute what they learned out of college, not be a daggone influencer on YouTube. Yeah, they can make millions, but it's like, we spent money here. So I'm like, we're spending money on things, and we naturally say, I want to execute what I spent money on. But what the title company is telling me, what the lender is telling me, what the signing company is telling me, and those are the people who are giving me the opportunity to get paid. They're not. I didn't spend any money over there. I spent money over here, and what they're telling me to do is opposite of what I was trained to do. And I feel that it would be a waste. And this is what people have told me. I feel it would be a waste to not do what I paid money to learn how to do, even though these people are the ones paying me. And I'm like, you're going to have to grow up and learn that the people who are paying you and giving you the opportunity to make money, as long as they're not asking you to violate your state law, those are the instructions that you're supposed to follow, not the trainer who is not paying you. You're paying the trainer. So you got to do it the way the people who are paying you are saying, your signing company, your title, and your lender. Because if they understand the way we're supposed to operate, they're not going to ask you to do something in violation of your state law. So that's what we're supposed to do. Anything
But
else? Oh, go
I
for
just
it.
have one more thing. I mean, at the end of the day, all of us need to know our jobs, and everybody from the lender all the way down, you're not always going to get professionals. You're going to have sloppy lenders too. Yeah, sloppy title,
Oh, yeah,
everything. But
for sure.
you need to know how to do your job. That is first and foremost, and that will save everything. But what I was going to say was, when I first started out, I was given valuable information from an escrow officer. Escrow officer does a ton of work in the US, but they said, listen, Christina, do you hold a license or are you an attorney? No, but I know the docs. They said, then don't explain the doc. It was just as simple as that. I was dumbfounded because everybody was saying you need to know these docs. The same thing you're saying, Griff. Like in these trainings, yeah, they hype you up that you need to know as much as the lender or the escrow officer. That's not our job. Escrow officer flat out told me, do you hold a license or are you an attorney? No, then you do not go any further than that. Stay in your lane and be an expert at the notarizations. That's what I want as a lender. I don't need you to explain the docs. I do that myself. Right? We're
And
not
you'd
going
be
to need that.
surprised how many loan officers don't.
Don't.
They
Oh, I
just
know they don't.
don't. They don't.
Mhm.
They're just don't even. Nope. Didn't
Right.
even like when I hear a loan officer went over a closing disclosure with the borrowers. I'm
Mhm.
like, that is the best loan officer. You have a great loan officer. You have a
Right.
great person there because that to me makes a really good loan officer.
That's how I became a loan officer from
Yes.
being a notary, hearing it so many times. They weren't
Right.
being, educated and informed on such a big decision. But at the end
Right.
of the day, as the notary public on the job, it's still not my job to explain. It's a shame they didn't have a better loan officer.
Mhm.
But like you had said, Griff, now what if you over explain something and you lose the deal? And there's a little bit of a correction. It's not 3 or 4 months that these loans go from start to finish. The reality is we're spending a year or more with some of these people. And in today's economy, it's even
Mhm.
longer.
Mhm.
So we are not being paid for all these days. My phone's been going off the whole time. It's 10:40. My
Right.
phone's going off with clients. So no, yeah, everybody needs to work together and get this done
Right.
properly
At the
and
end of
stay
and
in your
again, at
lane.
the end of the day, we're all just trying to get it closed.
Right.
And what's interesting now, Christina, you just, and probably you too, Constant. One of the things that I've said, because what the other thought is that if I do more as a notary, I'll get paid more. But
Mm-mm.
we see that that's not necessarily the case, and we're going to talk about the pay in a second. I've always said, if you feel you need to get more money, then why don't you become a title person like Constance is, or a
Mhm.
loan officer like Christina,
Mhm.
because they're the ones who get more of the money. We get paid based off of what they value, the effort that we're going to put into doing this closing, irregardless of the pages. Some people may value a 20-page closing at 150, and other people may value a 185-page closing at 85. Why they do that, I don't know. But all I know is, from my perspective, if I get enough of those orders and I'm getting more than the competition, I'm going to have the actual funds to take care of my family. So if I do 75, 80, $85 closings, then hey, I'm good to go. So like this month alone, so let's just say if I'm averaging $90 a closing out of those 50, that's 4,500.
Mm-hmm.
My goal is 9,000. So that means if I knock out another 50 and I'm averaging $90, well, I'm at my $9,000. So I don't see what the problem is in me doing that if the goal is for me to make $9,000. Is there a lot more effort that I need to put out? Yes. Are there a little bit more sleepless nights? Yeah. Is it that instead of me sleeping in tomorrow, I got an 8 o'clock and a 9 o'clock tomorrow morning that I picked up? I'm just going to do what I got to do. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. So now let me ask y'all to this, and maybe Jasmine can throw something in here. From a signing company title lender perspective, and get as shallow as deep as you want, what is the thought process that goes into saying this closing, we're going to pay the notary $95? Because the title, from my understanding, I'm thinking that the lender says we're going to pay, we'll just say $175 for the closing. Now, that goes down to the title people. From there, the title is saying we're going to pay, I'm just guessing, we're going to pay out ... And that goes to the signing company. And then the signing company says, I'm going to pay out ... And then the portion goes to the notary. Mm-hmm. What is the thought process, if there's any, that says this is why we are valuing this closing at this price? Because I've always said the lender runs the show because they're the ones that got the money. The notary closes it out because we the one that got the stamp. But if the lender values what they want from us at this dollar amount, and they've said we're giving that dollar amount to the title company says out of that 175, we're going to give 125 to the signing company to get it done. And the signing company says we're going to give 85 to the notary. I don't see how the notary can go back to this title signing company and say, give me more, because out of that 125 minus 85, so that's $40. So the signing company getting 40. How can I make the signing company give me more when there's a contract in place that the signing company can only get paid this, the title company can only get paid that, and the lender is only going to pay out that? Go for it.
Do you want to?
I can start on this part because ours is pretty easy. The lender, you can see on the paperwork what our price range is. I mean, it's kind of right there. We're going to hire the title company.
The title, the signer gets paid out of the settlement fee. As a title perspective, title side of this all, it's the settlement fee. So that's what the fee is for title companies to be the settlement agent on these transactions. So it's not the lender who's dictating the fee.
Gotcha.
It's the title company, the settlement company who's dictating the fee. So the notary, so that's where a huge misconception that I hear a lot is that a lot of people are thinking that the settlement fee is what the signing service is getting paid. And that is not.
Right.
That is the title company charge to be the settlement agent on the transaction. So the notary fee, sometimes you'll see like a $25 notary fee, but the fee is actually coming out of the settlement fee from title. So it's title who's dictating the fee.
Yeah, that is true. Even from our end, when it comes to the settlement statement, we see what we have on the settlement statement that the signing service is getting. Now, sometimes it'll say 175 on there, but the title's only giving us 125 from that. That gives us a little bit of wiggle room. So say if it's like a remote area, things of that nature, and we are trying to find a notary who's in a rural area and we can't find them, then we can go ahead and we see the settlement statement because we have the documents, but we know we're only getting 125. The wiggle room would be we go ahead and message title, hey, we have a notary available, but this is their fee. Due to them being in a rural area, is there any wiggle room in your fee for us to go ahead and accommodate this notary because of it being a rural area? So once we say that, then they can go ahead and approve, and they'll say, oh, you know what? We have up until 175. Go ahead and use that entire 175. Then we go ahead and give that notary that we were looking at a little bit more, because then we have the funds to go ahead and still make money as a signing service, but also help that notary out and get them a little more because they're willing to go travel and do a little bit more in an area where it's really hard to find somebody.
And I also too, as a signing service perspective, like my title companies, like where I do work in, say, Manhattan, Long Island, Staten Island, Hoboken, Jersey City, those areas, very hard to find parking. Very, a lot of fees going into that area. So my title companies know in that area, as a signing service, I'm automatically charging $25 more, which allows me to give my notaries $25 more on top of it, because it is costing them a lot more to get there.
So now, I was told this one time by a signing company owner that some title companies will approach a signing company and say, hey, look, this is the volume of work that we can provide you. We can provide you with 200 signings a month, and we're going to pay you this dollar amount, whatever that may be. And out of that dollar amount we pay you, you decide how much you're going to pay the notary. If you need more, it will be under these conditions that we pay you more to pay them more. If the conditions aren't met, don't ask. That's what I was told about 3 years ago, that's sometimes is the case, not all the time. That the title, especially for a larger title company that has a lot of business, and they're saying, okay, we're going to give Earl Jones, signing company this opportunity, and we see in our mortgage crystal ball that for the next 6 months, we're going to have about 200 signings a month potentially in your area. We want to give them to you, and we're going to pay you $200 a pop. What notaries need to understand is, depending upon that signing company's, the way they have their business structured, their operating expenses, I would just throw it out there like this. If they've done it conservatively, they may be able to say, we can do a 50-50 split. We may be able to do on that 200, I get 200, you have 100 for the notary, 100 for me, and I can operate what I need to do for my business off of that. Unfortunately, there are some signing company owners that don't look at it that way. They look at it as party time. Okay, we got 200. I'm going to take the 125 and I'm going to give the notary 75. And that's just how it is.
See, as a signing service, I would never get paid more than I would pay my notary.
And see, those are the good signing services, because like Marcy from Professional Notary Services, when I did an interview with her like this, she said she takes 25% of the fee and gives the notary 75%. So that's why I love working for her. So when she says she throw an order out there, I'm breaking my phone to get it, because I know she's going to take care of me. So if I'm available,
I take care of my notaries too.
Right, I'm on that. Yeah. So that's what I'm seeing. And I did a video a while back, maybe 2 years ago, where I calculated that on average, I was getting paid about 56% of the notary fee that was listed on the settlement statement. So whatever the notary fee was, I was on average getting at least 56% of that. I said, what company do you know that's paying their people 56% of what they're bringing in? There's not that many. Now, granted, $85 is 56% of whatever, may not seem like a lot dollar-wise, but percentage-wise, you're getting the lion's share. So now you got to ask yourself, are you trying to function and run your business based off of the dollar amount, or you happy the fact that, hey, I'm getting the lion's share? I'm happy that somebody selected me and willing to pay me 135 out of the 185 they're getting. And I've seen that with some of the signing companies. They're like, the notary fee that they have listed is 185, and they're giving me 135. So 185 minus 1. So they're only getting 50. I'm like, how in the world can I complain about that?
You'd be surprised how many people you'd be surprised though. Like,
well, that's my next question to you. What is y'all attitude toward notaries that here you have an order? You got a brand new client that has, let's just say they're like, hey, look, we got these small seller packages. We've done everything e-signing. We got these small seller packages. We're going to pay you 100. You go make it happen, get the notary. And you say, based on your normal business model, 50-50 split. Well, I get 100. I'm keeping 50. I'm giving the notary 50. But the notary is saying, I want 100. I want 100. Now, they don't know what you're getting.
Asking me to get paid more than I get paid from the title company all the time. Like, not all the time, but a lot of the time. And I'm like, no, that's not, I'm not title. I'm not, I'm a signing service. And they do. A lot of them ask that.
So for us, we go ahead and just let them know up front, like, this is how much we're getting. And this is like, unfortunately, we have no wiggle room. We cannot go around with them. I'm already giving you the entire fee that I'm getting for this order. So I'm sorry, if you can work with us, great. If not, I'm going to find somebody else. Just being honest goes a long way with them.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I say. I can't, I can't do that fee, because then I'd be losing money as a signing service. You can't do that. And yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna ask, go for it, Christina.
When notaries want to make more, we do have the option to go direct. I have a lot of direct clients, and if I want to cut the middleman out, you can. But this means you're going to self-generate, and you're going to work way harder to go and get, self-promote and generate that business. Yeah, then you will be making 200, 300, a job, because you no longer have the middleman in. But yes, if you're going through a signing service, they have the client, they've done the networking, they're doing the advertising. So you're going to negotiate when offered the job. If you don't want it, let it go. I mean, the arguing, I don't understand what's going on out there.
I've even seen some trainers say it's okay for, when you're getting assigned through a signing service, market that title company directly. And that drives me crazy, because we've spent so much time and work and, getting that client, and then to have a notary go behind your back to market. I think that's just bad work ethics. And I just don't think that that's really something that's, I don't think it's right. And I don't think,
and it comes back, because they
we can get blackballed.
I've had it where one of my notaries did that, and the title company told me, they're like, just so you know. And I'm like, thank you for letting me know. And guess what? Now I won't use that closer, and title's not hiring that closer. So just that little thing that you did, you just lost a pretty good amount of business by doing that. It's just.
Now, one of the things that I've learned, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, what I've learned when it comes to being direct versus signing companies is this: being direct can get you more pay, but you can be limited in the amount of work you're doing, because the local title company is only working with deals that are happening in your city. And if they are working with deals outside, you're not outside the city, you're not outside the state. So you can't do the deals that they got going on in North Carolina, because you're in Virginia. In my case, I'm in Virginia. So if the title companies that I'm working with, and if all three of y'all are title companies, there's a high chance that if I'm trying to do business with all three of y'all, there's a high chance that when Christino says, hey, Grip, I need you at 9 a.m. on Monday, there's a chance that Constance like, hey, I need you at 9:30. I can't do the two. I'm
Well,
limited. You see what I'm saying? Because some people, they're trying to get all of these title companies, and it's like, if I'm constantly not available to Constant's going to move on because you're like, look, Griff, you're never available, so I got to go somewhere else. And what I'm trying to get them to understand is that that direct client has a certain amount of employees that can do X amount of work per month. They got a certain volume that they're able to put out. So if that title company can only put out 8 closings a month because of the number of employees and the way they work in their process,
mhm.
and they only got 4 or 5 clients that they're working with to do closings, and those 4 or 5 have had a 50% drop in business, and you got 7 other notaries trying to get business. That's where I've seen where it's like, so where can I get additional money? Working with the signing companies. Because the signing companies, as you said, have done the legwork to build the relations to get additional business that's not only in my state, but that's coming from other states for their clients that might be visiting in my state, that might be here for graduations temporarily, and they want to do the closing. But if I forego working with Constant Signing Company, and she has a client that, hey, Bill is going to Virginia Beach, I need a notary. Don't worry, I got you. We got Griff. But if you just, so that's what I'm saying is that you have to diversify. And that's what I learned from Bill
Right.
Soroka. You have to be willing to diversify. So I say, you know what? I'm willing to, if I'm making, say, $3,000 a month from direct clients, but there's a chance I can make $5,000 from signing companies, I'm willing to split the money if I can get the 5 to help me get closer to my $9,000 that I need. I need $9,000. I'd rather try to get the 5 from them. Yeah, I'm gonna have to work my butt off, but I got the 5. And if my my direct clients have a little dead zone going on, at least I got my 5. I'm going to struggle and rob Peter to pay Paul, but I'd rather have 5 than don't even have the 3 and be just empty.
You do them both, and you do general notary work. You fit it in your schedule. Like today, I did North Carolina, Virginia, and then I closed off with New Jersey. So your title companies, when you're working direct, they're all over. Like it's whoever you networked with. So you have to make it fit into your schedule. I know how many directs I'm going to do per month, and usually there's way more wiggle room. They're calling me, "Hey, Christina, this is what I have for the month or the week or whatever it is," and I am scheduling with the borrower myself.
Right.
I like that because it's more flexible.
That is excellent. Well, this has been great. I was only going to have us up here for like 12 minutes.
My granddaughter's like, nah.
I know. I'm exhausted. Exhausted here.
It was wonderful. Thank you for asking me to come on, Garth. It was great. It really was.
Yeah,
good conversations, good information, and yeah.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming on and sharing. I'm confident that people will learn from this. And the bottom line is nothing wrong with training. Just make sure you're getting the proper training that you need. Know that you do need to understand your state laws and how to properly notarize.
Yep.
One of the things that I've been offering to people is a 30-minute session for $10 to sit down and talk anything they want to talk about the business. You have Constance here. She's going to provide me her information. So I'll put it in the description of this video later. So if you want to reach out to her for any kind of training, you can reach out to me. But I'm telling you, if you understand how to do the notarization part, that is going to set you apart from all these other notaries, because you will always be, that means every time you do a closing, the lender and the title company will be able to close that thing out and get people paid. And if your state law and the ability to articulate without going into the unauthorized practice of law presents itself, then you'll be able to do that but the most important thing is you know how to do your job.
That's right.
So
Mhm.
that's the thing. And I had to stop assuming that people knew that. And once I did, I was like, let me help them. So this is a very simple business when you stick to what you're supposed to do and then you grow it from there, and then you can flourish all over the place, and you can get into the estate planning, the apostilles, because
Mhm.
all of it is going to require you to do some type of notarization.
Oh yeah, you need to know that for estate planning too, for sure.
Right. And you need to
Absolutely.
be able to do it. And I deal with estate planning from time to time,
Mhm.
and just like, and I see, and it's all weird, it's funky. But when I know my estate law, I say, okay, first thing is, where's my venue? Where's my this? Where's my that? Who's the
Mhm.
principal? Who's the this? Who's the that? Got it. All right. And everything. So any last words, starting with Christina, and then we'll end with Jasmine.
I think that you would get more business and be more successful, and you'll be more comfortable in this industry if you do it by baby steps. Just take deep breaths.
That's right.
Just remember you're a notary public first. Know how to do notarizations. And then just build slowly. It's repetition. All the docs, it's pretty much repeating itself.
Yep.
You'll get a few things that pop up randomly, but you can always ask a question. Do not try to assume. Again, take that deep breath, make a phone call, send an email, a text.
Mhm.
Just, it's going to be all right.
Yep.
You got to get out there and do it.
That's right. I agree with everything that Christina's saying. And again, don't let the fear of making a mistake keep you from starting. Baby steps, like Christina said, and build your business. Be a notary first and foremost. And yeah, and honestly, I really put a, what you were saying, Griff, about, and I, as you know, doing this for a while, you just assume notaries know this stuff. And I think I might put something in my training. And if maybe you would like to be a part of it, we'll talk about it. But I think that
Sure.
I'm probably going to do that. I'll put that into my training course, because I mean, I do emphasize you're a notary first and foremost. You need to know your state laws. But what you're saying, it makes complete sense. And so, yeah. So thank you for that. I will definitely think about doing that.
You're welcome, lady.
For me, I think communication and honesty goes a long way. So definitely, have that communication present. You need the extra training. Don't lie about it. Be upfront about it. The amount of certificates that I see on people's profiles where they're trying to say they got trained by Notary to Pro or LSS, but when I click on that icon to see the certificates there, it's just an NA certification saying they're a notary. Is insane. So honestly,
I did that. That's weird that you say that, because I did that the other day, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but when I did click on it, it went right to the NNA. Every certification went right to the NNA, and I was like, huh.
Yeah. So I mean, they think that we're not gonna have the time to go check those things, but those are very key, important details for us to make sure we assign the right person. So honesty, like I said, goes a long way. Training is extremely important. Knowing your state laws, extremely important. So invest in all of that and make sure you get it all done correctly.
And have fun. The people
Yeah.
are so nice.
Enjoy meeting these people. Enjoy coming in contact with these people, because you know what? I think about it. I would rather do this than Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 in a cubicle. No, thank you. No. So thank you again. I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Chris.
All right.
You're welcome, and thank y'all for coming on. I really appreciate this. This has been so enlightening for me and everything. So, I mean, this gives me even more hope that we're going to be all right in this business, because I just have a gut feeling that whenever the next real estate boom happens,
it's coming.
It's coming. That this kind of information is going to be out there to help those notaries out, to get them focused on what they need to be focused on, so that they can be successful in doing what they elected to do in this business. And that's what my number one goal is to be able to help them be successful in being a commissioned notary, so that at the end of the day, we all get paid.
Right.
That's it. So
Yeah.
And
thank
that's what I
you.
was saying too, is that I want to be part of the change of this, all this information that's being thrown out there that just is not, it's not right. And like you're discouraging notaries and you're setting them up for failure. That needs to stop because it's ruining the industry. It needs to stop. So I'm glad, you know, I love this because like you said, we can all come together and fix this
Yeah,
for
sounds
sure.
good. Well, you ladies have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so
I
much.
really
Thank you.
appreciate y'all.
All right. We
Thank you.
appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Have a good night,
Have
everyone.
a good night. Bye.
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 Woo! We had fun, y'all. So greatly appreciate y'all. Ain't no need me to belabor the point because y'all know I can still go for another 17.7 hours. But y'all have a good one. And Oswald, I did have a fritter. I was chewing on it for a little bit there. So thank y'all very much for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe, all of that. Thanks to the new channel member, all of that good stuff. So y'all be blessed. Have a wonderful one. And I really, really appreciate y'all for hanging in there for these 3 hours and 5 minutes and 40 some seconds. All right. Y'all have a good one. Talk to y'all later. Peace.